Chapter 124. Fang Yin tied Li Yang behind him and slowly carried him up with the rattan rope. Then he went down again and carried Chen Tao up as well. Chen Tao grabbed Fang Yan's arm and cried, "Mr. Fang, my hand is broken, my hand is broken, please save me. I'm dying." Fang Yan touched Chen Tao's arm and asked, "Are you afraid of pain?" "Yes," Chen Tao said. "That's good." As Fang Yan spoke, he held Chen Tao's arm with one hand and pushed and pulled with the other hand. There was a crisp crack sound and Chen Tao's pig-like howl. Chen Tao's hand was fixed. "If you are not very busy, try to see if you can move your arm first," Fang Yan said to Chen Tao, who was screaming with his mouth open. Chen Tao shook his head and cried even more miserably. He said, "Mr. Fang, it's really broken this time. It hurts." Fang Yan saw that Chen Tao did not dare to move. He grabbed Chen Tao's hand and pulled it back and forth. Then, he raised it up and waved it like a lucky cat. He said, "It's fixed." Chen Tao opened his eyes and looked at it. It was really fixed. Although it was very painful, his arm and fingers could move freely. It was not like when he was down there, he could not feel them at all. His brain could not command them at all. "Mr. Fang really fixed it, really fixed it," Chen Tao said happily. No matter what kind of contradiction he had with Fang Yin in the past, or how much hatred he had for him in his heart, at this moment, he was sincerely grateful to Fang Yin. At the critical moment, a man tied a tree vine and pulled you back from a dangerous situation. How could you resist and ignore such help? Li Yang sat on the ground and looked at Fang Yin, who was treating Chen Tao's arm. Li Yang's eyes were empty. He didn't know what he was thinking, or if he hadn't woken up from the nightmarish incident that happened tonight. Fang Yin stood up and said to Chen Tao and Li Yang, "Can you two walk?" Chen Tao stood up and walked a few steps before saying, "Mr. Fang, I'm fine." "I'm fine too," Li Yang said. "Then let's go back," Fang Yin said. "Go back?" Chen Tao and Li Yang looked at Fang Yin in surprise. "Go back just like that? What about Zheng Guodong? He was still down there and hadn't been rescued." "Mr. Fang, Zheng Guodong is still down there," Chen Tao said anxiously. "Who is Zheng Guodong?" Fang Yin asked. Because Fang Yin didn't lower his voice, Zheng Guodong, who was lying below, heard Fang Yan's words clearly. Hearing that Fang Yin asked Chen Tao and Li Yang to go back and completely ignored his existence, he was so angry that he shouted, "Fang Yin, you bastard, you beast, you bastard. You want to kill me. You are using your power to avenge your private grudge. You just want me to die. Fang Yin, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. My father won't let you go. And the police won't let you go." Silence. It was dead silence. In addition to the whistling of the mountain wind and the occasional chirping of birds and insects, Zheng Guodong's shouting got no response from anyone. "Gone? Really gone?" Zheng Guodong almost collapsed. "Fang Yin, you bastard, you want to kill me, you want to kill me. Li Yang, you traitor. You are ungrateful, you are not a good thing. Chen Tao, you dare to leave me behind and run away. When I get out, I will make you suffer. I will make you all die a horrible death." Fang Yin stood on the edge of the cliff, looked at the two young students standing in front of him with pale faces, and said, "Now do you see what kind of person he is? I can understand that you didn't know before. Now if you still don't know, it only proves that you are stupid. It doesn't matter if a person is simple or stupid, but if he is stupid, he will hurt others and himself." Chen Tao opened his mouth again and again, but in the end, he couldn't say anything. Li Yang looked at the bottom of the cliff, and then looked at Fang Yin, and said in a weak voice, "Mr. Fang, save him. No matter what, he is your student." "I don't think so." Fang Yin sneered. "I can't be everyone's teacher, but not everyone is worthy of being my student. I have a reputation to cherish, and I have feathers to protect. I am selfless, and I am willing to impart my knowledge to you selflessly. I am also selfish, and I don't want to nail myself to the pillar of shame in history because of a fly." Fang Yin glanced at the bottom of the cliff and said, "I think he is definitely not willing to recognize me as his teacher." Li Yang and Chen Tao were silent. They understood Zheng Guodong's character, and they also knew what they had done to Fang Yin. If it hadn't happened tonight, the two of them would probably be plotting with Zheng Guodong on how to expel Fang Yin from the school. However, I will still save him. Fang Yin said. Thank you, Mr. Fang. Liang said. You are great. In the past, we really let you down. Mr. Fang, we have done a lot of wrong things. I hope you can forgive. Chen Tao also said with a face full of guilt. I have to save him. Fang Yin smiled bitterly. I brought him out, so I have the responsibility to bring him back. No matter how much I dislike him. You two wait up there for a while. Fang Yin said. Then, he pulled the vine rope again, and climbed down to save the guy who was still shouting. The sky had just revealed a touch of white, and the students of Class 9 had already gathered at the entrance of the hotel. When Huang Haoren called the roll, Zhang Guodong and his two King Kong, Liang and Chen Tao did not appear, and everyone was used to it. The three of them were the oddities of the school, and usually, they never put the rules and regulations in their eyes. Because of their strong background, the teachers of the school could not do anything about it, so they could only let them be. Mr. Fang, Zhang Guodong, Liang, and Chen Tao are not here, the rest are all here. Huang Haoren ran to Fang Yin and reported. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were also among the students, but they were not on the list of Class 9. It's okay, Fang Yin said with a smile. What happened last night was still confidential for the time being, and it could not be known by other students. Zhang Guodong, Liang, and Chen Tao were frightened, and it was not easy for them not to go home that night. Now that they were not willing to participate in the activity, it was understandable. At this moment, Liang and Chen Tao ran out of the hotel. Chen Tao ran while zipping up his hoodie. The two of them quickly ran to Fang Yin and apologized. Mr. Fang, sorry, we got up late. Everyone looked at Liang and Chen Tao strangely. Did something happen to them today? They were not with Zhang Guodong? And they took the initiative to apologize to Mr. Fang Yin, because they came late? It was too strange. Fang Yin looked at Liang and Chen Tao and asked, Are you okay? It's okay, Chen Tao said. We also want to follow everyone to see the sunrise. Let's go. Let's go to Line Gorge. Fang Yin said with a smile. However, I have a condition. I promise you to go to see the sunrise, and you must help me take care of your own safety. Is that okay? Mr. Fang, don't worry. We will pay attention. Yes, don't mess around. Don't cause trouble for Mr. Fang. Whatever Mr. Fang says, we will do it. Fang Yin waved his hand and said with a smile, Don't be nervous, everyone. I'm just giving you a kind reminder. You enjoy this rare scenery, and I will always be with you. So, with Tangqing leading the team in front and Fang Yin at the back, a group of people walked toward the best scenic spot, Line Gorge. When the dark sky was torn apart, the white of the fish's belly turned into the white of the fish's scales, then the fish's body, then the white became goose yellow became light red, and light red became deep red. A red sun slowly appeared on the horizon of the Grand Canyon. The students exclaimed, and more people took out their mobile phones to take photos. Some people stood together in groups of 3 to 5 and asked other students to help take photos. Everyone was having a good time. Fang Yin stood behind the railing and looked at the scene of the rising sun surrounded by mist. He felt like a seed was germinating, and weeds were growing wildly in his heart. A beautiful picture of a red sun rising in the east appeared in his mind. His dantian became hot again, and the heart of Tai Chi, which had been immersed for a while, started to rotate again. Moreover, this time, the speed of rotation was even faster, and it was even more forceful. It wasn't as intermittent as before. Instead, it connected into a long, thin line. This long line ran through his whole body, flowing through every meridian and impacting every acupoint in his body. It was numb and itchy, as if he was sunbathing. Fang Yin felt very comfortable, and every pore of his body was in a state of excitement. He had a strong impulse to do a round of Tai Chi on the summit of Xixia Mountain. He thought so, and so he did. He drew a circle with the tip of his foot, and held the circle with both hands, stretching his body infinitely. With one foot as the core, he slowly danced along the rotation of the heart of Tai Chi, indomitable spirit, standing in the center, like a boundless elephant. Fang Yin recited the song, and held the circle horizontally with both hands. With a flash of inspiration, the Tai Chi will move in all directions. He turned his head slightly, then his waist and arms. His left and right palms flew up and down, and it was hard to see with the naked eye. Just then, an early butterfly landed in the center of his palm. Every blade of grass and every tree had life. Every insect and every fish had spirituality. Fang Yin smiled at the butterfly, and then let it move up and down in his palm. He stretched out his hands and shook his arms up and down according to the frequency of the butterfly's flapping wings, rising and falling, borrowing the force of the butterfly. Every time the butterfly gathered its strength and was about to fly, it happened to be offset by his strength. When the butterfly's body fell, it was pushed high into the sky by his rebound force. The green mountains and clear waters were shining, and the sun was shining. Fang Yin, who was dressed in white, was handsome and elegant, like an elegant young master living in seclusion in a deep valley. Chapter 125. Fang Yin opened his palm, and his arm rose and fell up and down. The butterfly was like a boat in the sea, being tossed up and down and unable to escape. He exerted his strength lightly, and his posture was freehand. The man and nature were integrated into one, like a beautiful landscape painting. Look! Yuan Lin pulled the arm of Jiang Qin, who was excitedly taking photos of the red sun, and pointed to Fang Yin not far away and shouted. Jiang Qin turned around, and his eyes lit up instantly. He was immediately fascinated by the scene in front of him. At this time, Fang Yin danced with the wind, and the red light all over the sky enveloped him. He was ethereal like a hidden master or a peerless immortal. So handsome. Yuan Lin's eyes were also full of little stars. Uncle is so handsome. I didn't expect a man who does Tai Chi to be so charming. Jiang Qin was silent and did not answer. He just stared at Fang Yin not far away with burning eyes. Sweetheart, say something. Are you stunned? Yuan Lin grabbed Jiang Qin's arm and said. She hoped that what she said could get Jiang Qin's response and resonance. Jiang Qin's silence made her very disappointed. Not only handsome, Jiang Qin said. His eyes never left Fang Yin. What is that? Temperament, Jiang Qin said. I don't think I'll be able to see such a temperament in any other guy ever again. Yuan Lin thought about it and said with annoyance. It's really annoying. Everyone came out to watch the sunrise together, which was the most exciting thing for Tangcheng, because when everyone came out together, Qin Etienne would also come out. When Qin Etienne came out, he would have the opportunity to watch the sunrise alone with her. Of course, as the famous school hunk in the school, he was embarrassed to show all his happiness on his face. Today, Tangcheng deliberately chose a set of white clover sportswear, which made him look outstanding in the crowd, like a dazzling and proud white swan. As soon as he appeared, he immediately attracted the cheers of many girls in the class. Tangcheng had always been by Qin Etienne's side. Being able to watch the sunrise with his beloved girl would definitely leave a sweet and deep memory in her heart. Decades later, she could even take it out to drink. Qin Etienne looked at the rising red sun in the Grand Canyon, as if he was stunned by the beautiful scenery in front of him. He did not speak for a long time. Tangcheng really wanted to ask someone to take a group photo for them, but he was afraid that it would disturb Qin Etienne's mood, so he couldn't ask. Therefore, Qin Etienne didn't speak, and neither did he. Qin Etienne looked at the scenery in front of him attentively, while Tangcheng looked at Qin Etienne attentively. You stand on the bridge and look at the scenery. The person who looks at the scenery is looking at you from the bridge. Tangcheng suddenly thought of this poem. At this moment he was deeply moved. Qin Etienne sighed softly, and his line of sight finally moved away from the picture of the rising sun. Nature is really great. Man can conquer nature. It is nothing more than the arrogant delusion of us mortals. Tangcheng was overjoyed. He finally waited for the opportunity and said, Qin Etienne, shall we take a photo together? Worried that Qin Etienne would not agree, he added, the other students are taking photos. Okay. Qin Etienne readily agreed. Tangcheng waved his hand and shouted, Fang Hong, come and help us take a photo. Fang Hong trotted over and asked, do you want to use my camera or your mobile phone? Use my mobile phone, Tangcheng said. He was worried that if he used someone else's mobile phone or camera, these guys would secretly save a copy of Qin Etienne's photo. They would definitely do so. It should be known that Qin Tian would not take a photo with anyone easily. Fang Heng took Tangqing's mobile phone and said, "Are you ready?" Tangqing and Qin Tian turned around and prepared to take a photo with their backs to the red sun. Tangqing thought about it and stood closer to Qin Tian. He thought about it again and stood closer. He wanted to be closer, but he did not dare to move this time. "Get ready," Fang Heng shouted. At this moment someone shouted, "Look at Mr. Fang." "Ah, look, it's really Mr. Fang. Teacher Fang is doing Tai Chi. He's so cool." Hearing everyone's voice, Qin Tian also looked in the direction of Fang Yan. Her eyes were full of affection, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, with a heartwarming smile. Fang Heng also wanted to see teacher Fang Yan do Tai Chi, but since he was entrusted by someone, he must do the things at hand first. So he shouted, "Tangqing, are you two ready?" Tangqing looked at Qin Tian's side face, and saw that when she stood with him, she turned her head to look at another man seriously and attentively. He saw the joy and obsession in her eyes. How could such a scene be taken? Even if it was taken, it would be a great irony to himself, right? Tangqing waved his hand and said weakly, "For the time being, let's not take photos." It had to be said that this scene was too surprising. Just now, the students of Class 9 took out their cameras and mobile phones to take photos of the red sun and the beautiful scenery of Xixia in the early morning. Now, everyone pointed the camera at Fang Yan, who was doing Tai Chi, and moved the shutter. Click. Even Qin Tian, who never took photos, took out a special mobile phone, adjusted the focus, and froze the picture of Fang Yan doing Tai Chi. Even some tourists who deliberately stayed at Xixia Mountain to watch the sunrise took out their mobile phones and kept taking photos when they saw Fang Yan, who was an anomaly. Someone said happily, "Xixia Mountain is developing better and better. The last time we came, they didn't specially send people out to do Tai Chi for us. I didn't make a mistake asking you to come here, did I?" Fang Yan was so lost in his own world that he couldn't hear the praises and comments of his friends around him. He didn't even notice that they were taking photos of him. He followed the guidance of the heart of Tai Chi and performed the moves of Tai Chi in his mind. Fang Yan was Tai Chi, and Tai Chi was Fang Yan. With the heart of Tai Chi as a medium, he finally became one with Tai Chi again and became a complete ball. He could adjust his breathing, and he could look inside his body. Under Fang Yan's waving, the power of Tai Chi in the heart of Tai Chi circulated faster and faster. The stream turned into a stream, and the stream gathered into a river. The river rushed through every meridian and acupoint in his body. There was a mist around Fang Yan, and his body was steaming. The heat and the mist condensed together. Fang Yan's entire body was drenched in sweat, and his clothes were completely soaked. However, his complexion was rosier, and his skin was whiter and more translucent, showing a translucent state. After playing with the butterfly for a while, Fang Yan raised his hands and shouted, "Up!" The colorful butterfly suddenly felt that the heavy binding on its body was lifted. It flapped its wings and flew into the sky. It circled above Fang Yan's head twice, then flew into the distance and disappeared in an instant. Fang Yan drew a circle in front of him with the tip of his foot, and his body slowly retracted. He stood at attention, then gently exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The practice of Tai Chi made him feel refreshed, and his body felt relaxed and comfortable, as if it had been reborn. The fist style ended, but the heart of Tai Chi was still working normally. Although it wasn't as turbulent as before, it didn't break, and it still existed. He knew that after this incident, his heart of Tai Chi had finally been completely activated. Fang Yan was extremely excited. The trip to Mount Xianxia was not in vain. "Mr. Fang, wipe your sweat." Jiang Qin trotted over and handed over the handkerchief he borrowed from Yuan Lin. Yuan Lin wanted to do it herself, but she beat him to it. Fang Yan refused and said, "No need. I'm sweaty all over, and I don't want to ruin your beautiful handkerchief. You can go back to your room and take a bath." "Let me do it." Qin Tian walked over and took the handkerchief from Jiang Qin's hand. He naturally helped Fang Yan wipe the sweat on his face. Fang Yan was speechless. "Qin Tian, can't you get permission from others before you do anything?" Jiang Qin was even more speechless. She even felt a little aggrieved. I borrowed the handkerchief from my friend. Why should I give it to you? She even wanted to yell at Qin Etienne. But when she saw Qin Etienne's carefree manner, as if everything was supposed to be like this, she couldn't say what she wanted to say. It really took courage to face such an opponent. All right. Fang Yin took the handkerchief from Qin Etienne's hand. I'll do it myself. The other students crowded around and praised Fang Yin at the same time. They praised Fang Yin as if he was the only one in the world. Fang Yin said that he was just playing, but he was very happy in his heart. Didn't people live for a face and a mouth? The other tourists also gathered around, wanting to take photos with the Tai Chi performer Fang Yin. Among them, there were many beautiful tourists who came alone. Of course, Fang Yin's students rejected them on his behalf. They also explained that Fang Yin was just a teacher, not a Tai Chi performer on Xixia Mountain. Only then did they leave with regret. A middle-aged man wearing glasses came over, looked at Fang Yin and said, "Sir, can I have a word with you?" Fang Yin looked at him carefully and said, "I don't know you. Why should I have a word with you? Who are you? What can I do for you?" The middle-aged man laughed and said, "Sir, I'm a talent scout. I saw your Tai Chi performance just now, and I think you are very talented. I want to invite you to shoot a movie." Talent scout? Shoot a movie? Fang Yin looked at the middle-aged man in surprise and asked excitedly. "I just waved my hands casually, and I was chosen by a talent scout? Can I enter the entertainment circle? Join a beauty group? Get to know a big star? And casually act in a movie to earn more than $1 billion? Sir," the middle-aged man was speechless. "I think you think too much." Chapter 126. Why am I overthinking it? Fang Yin said angrily. "If others can do it, why can't I?" "Sir, Tang Tian Wang is a legend in our entertainment circle. No one has been able to break the record he has created until now. I think I can do it too." Fang Yin said. "Find me a group of beauties and let me join." "Sir, I'm also very good-looking. It's not a problem for me to dress up as a woman." "Sir, are you really a talent scout?" "Yes." "Then you can't see that I have the potential in this area?" "Sir, to tell you the truth." The middle-aged man was on the verge of collapse. "I don't see it. You insulted me like this, and you still want to borrow a step from me? I have something very important to talk to you about. Isn't it just filming? You still have the nerve to ask me to be the lead in a movie that can't get $1 billion in the box office? Sir, we're not looking for you to be the lead. Well, we want to work with you on some details." "How detailed?" "Shoot some MV scenes." Fang Yin shook his head and said no. "First, I won't take on movies that aren't big investments. Second, I can't trust you. I know that talent scouts are all on the street. When they see a beautiful girl, they rush up and say, 'Miss, I think you have a lot of potential. Would you like to go back with me to make a movie?' Then they take her to a very remote and dilapidated room for an interview, saying that they want to test your acting skills and comprehension, and then they ask the girl to take off her clothes. You're not trying to sleep with me, are you?" "Sir, we don't have such considerations. Our Huaxing Entertainment is a big company. It's impossible for us to do such a thing." "Who knows?" Fang Yin sneered. "When the time comes, if I'm really deceived by you, I won't be able to answer even if I cry for help. How can I guarantee my innocence?" The middle-aged man knew that he had to tell the truth. He glanced around and said in a low voice, "Sir, I'm actually not a talent scout. I'm Miss Xia's agent. I want to talk to you." "Xia." Fang Yin felt that the name was a little familiar. "I don't know her either." The middle-aged man's face turned ugly and said, "Do you really not know Miss Xia? Stop joking, okay? How could there be someone who didn't know Miss Xia?" "Sir, I personally think that this is a good thing for you. It's a great opportunity for many people. If you can get Miss Xia's appreciation." "I still don't understand what you mean," Fang Yin said. "You just said that you're a talent scout, and now you say that you're a woman's manager. What are you trying to do?" "One should be honest," Fang Yin said. "You lied to me once, and you want me to believe your lies a second time? All right, I'm very busy. Our conversation ends here." The middle-aged man was anxious. He took out a business card from his pocket and said, "Sir, take a look. I'm really Miss Xia Tian's agent. My name is Zhang Wei. It's like this. Miss Xia Tian happened to be shooting at Xixia Mountain today. She saw you performing Tai Chi in the morning light just now. She's very interested in you and wants to talk to you about choosing such a scene in her new song. All right. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, everyone is so busy. Let's not waste each other's time. You still want to continue lying, and I still have to take the students to breakfast. I'll take your business card. Let's talk next time. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, that's it. Bye. Zhang Wei's face was full of regret as he said, if you change your mind, you can call me at any time. You're thinking too much, Fang Yin said. He was very angry when Zhang Wei said that he was thinking too much. Now he finally had the chance to take revenge for this despicable act. What? A beautiful voice was full of doubt. A beautiful woman in a white ancient gown asked in surprise. He's not willing? Yes, Zhang Wei said helplessly. I sent him the most sincere invitation, but he still refused. Zhang Wei, you don't have. Is there a problem with your attitude? Xia Tian knew that as she became more and more famous, the temper of the people around her also increased. Because she was kind-hearted and fond of old friendships, she was not willing to reprimand them easily, let alone dismiss them. Therefore, sometimes the attitude of the people around her would cause some people to have some prejudice against her. Miss, how could I do such a thing? How can I not know your temper? Zhang Wei said innocently. I know Miss wants to cooperate with him. My attitude is really good, but he just doesn't want to. Why not? What right does he have? The assistant who was busy putting on makeup for Xia Tian said angrily. Our sister Xia Tian can cooperate with anyone? Sister Xia Tian took the initiative to invite him, but he was not willing. He really doesn't know what's good for him. If I were to go, I would definitely scold him to death. Man, Xia Tian comforted softly. Don't say such things next time. Everyone has their own ambitions, we can't force others. I'm just angry at that person's arrogant attitude, the assistant said with grievance. Xia Tian smiled and asked, why didn't he agree? At first, I didn't want to expose Mrs. whereabouts, so I said that I was a talent scout and wanted to invite him to film. He refused. That's not true. But his request was too much. What request? If we can discuss it, we can also make up for it. He said that he only accepts movies with large investments. If the box office doesn't exceed 1 billion, don't look for him. Zhang Wei said with a sense of revenge. What? 1 billion box office? Does he think he's Heavenly King Tang? That's right. Isn't he overestimating himself? Sister Xia, he can't be a madman, right? It must be. Zhang Wei's words caused the group of people around Xia to explode. All of them attacked and condemned Fang Yin, the guy who had spoken arrogantly. Feng Yuancheng, a famous domestic male star, and the male lead of the ancient costume drama Divine Furnace, sneered and said, I've been in this circle for 5 or 6 years, and I only dare to say that I'm familiar with it. This guy wants a box office of 1 billion. Does he think he's a superstar? Sister Xia, don't you want to choose the male lead for your new song MTV? If you think it's suitable, I'll go over and act for you. I don't need a single cent. I'll pay for the plane ticket myself. Feng Yuanqing had always admired Xia. This was no secret in the circle. It wasn't strange at all that he wanted to act for Xia's new song MTV. Xia smiled silently and said, Thank you, Remote. If it's suitable, I'll definitely invite you to help me. But that person is really good. The scene of him standing on the top of the mountain doing Tai Chi was really unforgettable. You know, my new song wants to try a classical style. It's just a fancy fist and a show of legs. Feng Yuanqing said. Give me a few days of training, and I can also play as well as him. I'll go visit the famous Tai Chi master, Mr. Zheng Longjian, and learn a few moves from him. I'll definitely be stronger than that kid. Xia smiled and said, It's too troublesome to be long distance. This matter will be put aside for now. Since there's no chance, let's talk about it later. Everyone saw that Xia didn't want to talk about this topic anymore. It must have been that man's refusal that made Xia lose face and annoyed her. Thus, the director immediately walked over and said, Xia, I'll show you this scene again. Actually, this scene is very simple. It's just that you and the long distance met at the top of the mountain where the sun rose. And then both sides fought because of a misunderstanding. The long distance pretended to be defeated by you and fell off the cliff. You were very anxious. After Zhang Wei left, Jiang Qin came over and asked, Mr. Fang, who is that person? Why did he look for you? First, he said he was a talent scout looking for me to shoot a movie. Then he told me he was Xia Xia's agent. I sent him away. Fang Yan said. Jiang Qin took the business card and looked at it. He said, it seems that it really says he's Xia Xia's agent. If only it was. I love Xia Xia. However, this person must be lying. How could Xia Xia be here? Is that Xia Xia very famous? Fang Yan asked. He's too famous, Jiang Qin said excitedly. She's definitely the most popular celebrity in China. I love every single one of her shows. By the way, her singing is also very good. She has the nickname of Golden Song Queen. That's why I said it couldn't be her. Forget about her. Let's go eat. After dinner, you guys go back with our car. I'll take them back to school. You guys go home and say hello to your parents. No, Jiang Qin said with a pout. Why not? I'm going to see where you live. I'll go find you when I have time. You're still my tutor. Don't you want to fulfill your responsibilities now? Next time. Fang Yan refused. I still have a lot of things to do today. I brought the students out, and I have to bring them back safely. I also have to report to the school leaders, and there are friends waiting for me to receive. Next time, I'll definitely invite you to my house next time. Okay, Jiang Qin said helplessly. I'm telling you I'll definitely go. Definitely. Fang Yan said as if he was promising. At this moment, a strong smell of alcohol came. Burning knives. Even though Fang Yan hadn't tasted this kind of strong liquor for a long time, he could still smell the familiar smell of this liquor. How could there be the smell of burning knives at the top of Xinxia Mountain, which was thousands of meters above the ground, when the morning dew filled the air? Fang Yan followed the smell of alcohol and saw a long-haired man holding a huge bronze wine gourd drinking on a big rock more than 10 meters away. The big man sat cross-legged on the rock, drank a mouthful of strong liquor, and glanced at the sunrise. His posture was arrogant, and his expression was relaxed. It made people feel strange, but also gave people a feeling of grandeur. Chapter 127. Fang Yan's eyes were slightly cold as he said to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, you two go back to the hotel with them for breakfast. I still have some personal matters to deal with. Jiang Qin didn't notice the danger and wanted to continue to stay with Fang Yan. She asked puzzledly, what else is there? I feel a little uncomfortable, Fang Yan said while holding his stomach. He looked like he was in unbearable pain. Hateful, Jiang Qin said coquettishly. How did the grandmaster of a generation become an unlucky guy with diarrhea in the blink of an eye? Can you maintain a beautiful and lofty image in other people's hearts for a longer time? Of course, in Jiang Qin's view, the current Fang Yan was also very beautiful and lofty. Wasn't reality another kind of beautiful and lofty? Jiang Qin pointed to the front and said, I saw a toilet at the corner over there. You go there quickly. If you come back late, there won't be anything to eat. You guys eat first. Don't wait for me, Fang Yan said with a smile. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at Fang Yan and laughed as they chased after the 9th class. After a short period of time, they were already very familiar with Fang Yan's students. Even if they weren't familiar, the boys were very attentive to these two little Lolas. The girls also thought they were beautiful and cute. In addition, they were outgoing and sweet talkers, so it was easy for them to get along with the similarly young 9th class students. When all the students left, the people on the gorge were almost gone. Fang Yan walked toward the slope of the mountain and stood at the bottom of the slope. He looked up at the long-haired man sitting on the big rock and said, drinking liquor and watching the sun. It's really carefree and comfortable. The long-haired man raised his head and drank a mouthful of liquor. His throat was trembling. Perhaps it was because he drank too fast or because the liquor was too spicy, but his face suddenly turned red. Poochie! He spat out a mouthful of hot knife in his mouth and wiped the corner of his mouth with his dirty gray sleeve. He looked quite miserable. Fang Yin laughed and pointed at the long-haired man, saying, "You're at most half a kilogram. Why did he have to imitate that old drunkard and pretend to be a drunkard? Listen to my suggestion. Find an image designer to help you redesign your image. The vicissitudes of life and despair are not suitable for you." The long-haired man said angrily, "He used to be my idol. It was still the same now. It's not like I'm going to choke every time I drink so much. Besides, I'm not here to compete with you in drinking." "Then what are you doing here?" "Murder." "Kill who?" "Kill you." "Why?" "I was entrusted by someone. You haven't cut your hair for a long time. 2 years, 4 months, and 27 days. Since the day I lost to you, I've been ignoring you. Have you never washed your clothes?" "I changed it and washed it. I washed it and wore it again." The long-haired man was a little embarrassed. It was as if he had done something wrong to Fang Yin. Fang Yin glared and scolded, "Bailey Lu, you liar. You didn't keep your promise. What was the agreement during the game? In this game, no matter who is the loser, before he defeats his opponent again, he can't cut his hair or wash his clothes. Did you do that?" "What can I do?" Bailey Lu retorted with a red face and neck. What can I do? I can cut my hair, but I don't wash my clothes. They're all rotten. I can smell the stench from 100 miles away. My father is guarding the door with a long spear and won't let me in. What can I do? Can I still wear those clothes? That's something you have to solve. What does it have to do with me? You secretly washed the clothes. That's cheating. I cheated, but I told you frankly. If it were you, would you be able to do it? You also know how to act shamelessly. You're framing me. Fang Yin waved his arms and said, "I have nothing to do with your sister, but you said that if there was a chance, I would peep at her bathing. But did I do such a thing? No. Did I want to do such a thing? I never did. You dared to bully my sister." Bailey Lu suddenly jumped up from the big rock and said, "Let's fight again today to avenge the defeat of 2 years, 4 months, and 27 days. Fang Yin, on the top of Xinxia Mountain, will fight to the death." Fang Yin shook his head and sighed, saying, "Today is not the right time to fight to the death. Let's fight another day." "Why not? If we didn't talk so much nonsense at the beginning and fought to the death, it would be exciting and pleasing to the eye. We would show the demeanor of a master. Now you deliberately teased me by talking so much nonsense, which suddenly destroyed the tense atmosphere. Would Shimen Chuexue and Yi Guqing talk so much nonsense before the fight?" Bailey Lu thought for a while and said, "No." "Would Dongfang Bubi talk so much nonsense before the fight with Renwushing?" Bailey Lu thought again and said, "No." "Who would talk so much nonsense before the fight?" "Who would?" "Hooligans and aunties from the vegetable market." "Are you willing to fight like hooligans and aunties from the vegetable market?" "No." "Then let's go back." Fang Yin waved his hand and said, "Pick a good day next time, and we'll fight to the death." Bailey Lu refused and said, "I'm not leaving. Since I'm here, I can't just leave like this. I promised someone that I would kill you. If I leave, you'll definitely brag to others that you defeated a strong enemy with just a few words, that you didn't need to use your hands to fight, and that you'll make a fool of yourself by using your hands. Others will call me a coward. I won't fall for your trick. Am I that kind of person?" Fang Yin was hopping mad. "You are that kind of person." Bailey Lu's face was full of disdain. "I challenged you for the first time when I was 17 years old. You said you weren't feeling well today, and asked me to come back 3 days later. I just walked out of your house, and you let people spread the news that I was defeated by you in one move, and had to flee. It's not the first time you've done this kind of thing." Fang Yan's face was full of awkwardness and said, "It's a misunderstanding. That incident was a misunderstanding. Those bastards asked me if I had a chance of winning against you, and I said I could defeat the enemy in one move. In the end, those guys went out and bragged. How can I casually joke around with my reputation? I don't care. You must fight with me today," Bailey Lu said stubbornly. Fang Yin hesitated for a while, then gritted his teeth and said, "Fine. Then I'll casually beat you up. Let me say this first. Today is not the day to fight to the death." Before Fang Yan's voice faded, a huge gourd had already flown towards where he was standing. Boom! The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. It felt like the whole earth was shaking. The loud sound reverberated in their ears, almost piercing their eardrums. Grass and trees flew, and gravel turned to dust. At the place where Fang Yan had just stood, the heavy wine gourd had smashed a big round pit. Bailey Lu, you dare to sneak up on me. Fang Yan waved away the dust and smoke in front of him and shouted, "If I don't sneak up on you, then it's your turn to sneak up on me." As Bailey Lu spoke, his huge body had already leaped down from the big rock. His big feet stepped heavily on the side of the wine gourd. With a flick of his toes, the wine gourd had already flown from the ground into his hand. Holding the handle of the gourd, he swung the huge wine gourd and smashed it towards Fang Yan's head. The people of the Bailey family were born with great strength. This half-solid copper gourd that weighed 108 kilograms was like a toy in his hands. Whoosh whoosh! The wind howled wildly, carrying with it the power to destroy heaven and earth. With that blow just now, Fang Yan had already seen the power of this copper gourd. It could smash rocks and create a big pit on the hard concrete floor. How could flesh and blood resist it? Of course, Fang Yan would not fight it head-on. Fighting head-on would be a problem with his brain. However, blindly dodging was not an option. Bailey Lu's strength was unparalleled, and he could not use it up in a short while. If he allowed his attacks to form a momentum, then Fang Yan could only be placed in his momentum and be controlled by him in a passive state. Fang Yan needed to seize the momentum, and he needed to counterattack. Both his feet were on the ground, and his body was in a wobbly tumbling state. Boom! The wine gourd was getting closer and closer, and the strong wind was blowing. Fang Yan's face was burning with pain. This was the result of being cut by the wind blade. It arrived in an instant. Fang Yan moved. His body leaned back, and both his feet were like nails that were rooted to the ground, not moving an inch. Whoosh! The wine gourd was swung over his upper body. Bailey Lu laughed out loud, and then took back the wine gourd in his hand. He raised it high, and smashed it down towards the top of Fang Yan's head. Whoosh! Fang Yan's body only moved slightly to the side, and once again avoided the wine gourd's attack. Whoosh! This time, it was a direct attack from the side, and the position of the attack was also in the middle of the body, which was not easy to avoid, the chest. Whoosh! The fourth attack failed. Whoosh! The fifth attack missed again. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Fang Yan stretched out his hand. His slender right hand reached out towards the wine gourd. As if it had no bones, it stuck to the belly of the wine gourd. Tai Chi was a circle. The wine gourd was a circle. Tai Chi was the wine gourd. And the wine gourd was Tai Chi. Bailey Lu used all his strength, and he moved with little effort. Bailey Lu smashed with great force, and he swung the willow with the wind. He held a circle with one hand, and drew a circle with the other. He formed a circle with one hand. As he drew, the wine gourd was already out of Bailey Lu's control, and became a sharp weapon in Fang Yan's hand. Circle upon circle, and the man and Tai Chi became one. This was the true meaning of the heart of Tai Chi. The 108 kilograms copper wine gourd spun, and jumped in Fang Yan's palm. Fang Yan did not use any strength, but he borrowed the strength of Bailey Lu, and the weight of the wine gourd itself. Damn it! Bailey Lu lost his gourd, and with a loud roar, he rushed towards Fang Yan desperately. Fang Yan stretched out his left hand and pushed hard. Boom! The wine gourd spun at a speed that was hard to be seen by the naked eye, and then smashed towards Bailey Lu's body. Bang! Bailey Lu's body flew backward, and fell towards the line gorge not far away. Chapter 128. If he is strong, let him be strong, like a cool breeze caressing the hills. If he is unruly, let him be unruly, like the bright moon shining on the great river. If he is cruel, let him be evil, I will be full of vital energy. This sentence was from the Nine-Yang Sutra in Jin Daxia's masterpiece, The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. Jin Daxia obviously didn't know Kung Fu, but some scholars believed that Jin Daxia must know Tai Chi, or that he was a researcher of Tai Chi culture, because what he said was almost a true portrayal of Tai Chi's technique of exerting force. Fang Yan was a descendant of the Tai Chi family. Although he thought that Tai Chi was broad and profound, it couldn't be summed up by Jin Daxia's words. However, He couldn't deny that using softness to overcome hardness was the core essence of Tai Chi, using strength to fight strength. I won't use strength. Hitting an ox across the mountain won't hurt me. This was why Tai Chi looked powerful and pretentious. Compared to hard skills, soft skills were the most difficult to practice. Compared to a heavy sword, a soft sword was the most difficult to use. However, once it was learned, it would be invincible. Of course, this referred to the situation where the two sides were evenly matched. If the opponent's strength was higher, no matter how soft your soft skills were, you would be punched into pieces by the opponent. How could you have a chance to win? The Bailey family was famous for their strength, and Bailey Lu was the leader of the younger generation of the Bailey family. Therefore, he challenged Fang Yan's Tai Chi with brute force, which was a risk in itself. Especially when Fang Yan's heart of Tai Chi was activated again. Bailey Lu let out a muffled groan. His huge body was heavily smashed by the wine gourd, and he flew towards the line gorge. The gorge was unfathomable, and falling down was bound to be smashed. However, Fang Yan didn't stop there. He rushed to the side of the cliff, and pulled out a road sign slate from the soil. Then, he held the slate and smashed it towards the place where Bailey Lu had just fallen. He proved with his own actions that hitting a person, when he was down, was not a moral problem at all. Falling off the cliff was the real scum. Boom! The slate whistled down, following Bailey Lu's body. Fang Yan was still worried. He moved his toes, and threw the small stones on the ground towards the cliff. There's bound to be one piece of an inescapable net that can hurt you. Clang! A crisp sound was heard. Fang Yan hurriedly ran to the edge of the cliff, only to see that the 108 gene wine gourd was actually flying up from below. The sound just now came from the stone hitting the wine gourd. Fang Yan tapped the ground with his toes, and jumped off the cliff. Both of his feet stepped on the body of the wine gourd. With a force of 1,000 gene, he was determined to make the wine gourd sink rapidly. Bang! Fang Yan's feet landed on top of the huge wine gourd. The wine gourd was suppressed by Fang Yan's strength, and fell down the cliff like a swallow with a broken wing. The mountain wind whistled, and the white fog rolled. Dressed in white, Fang Yan stood on top of the wine gourd, and descended rapidly between the mountain streams. He looked like a celestial deity, riding on a flying gourd. After falling for several hundred meters, a loud shout suddenly came from below the wine gourd. Roar! A muffled roar that was suppressed to the extreme, and exploded to the extreme, was heard. Suddenly, an earth-shattering force came from the bottom of the wine gourd. Clang! The wine gourd's body trembled violently. Fang Yan's feet, which were standing on top of the wine gourd, also felt numb in pain. The wine gourd flew up into the sky like an unstoppable rocket. Even Fang Yan's body flew up from below the cliff. Clang! Another loud noise rang out. The wine gourd's ascent slowed down a little, then accelerated again. Clang! Another loud noise rang out. The wine gourd rushed even faster. Clang, clang, clang. His head was bleeding, and his long hair disheveled. Bailey Lu looked like a wild man in the valley, or like an enraged ape monster. Punches after punches landed on the bottom of the wine gourd. He used his brutal body, his strong ability to stay in the air, and the strength of the rocks on the mountain walls, the rattan ropes, and the wine gourd's own driving force to rush forward. Pressing forward with indomitable will. In the world of martial arts, only speed is unbeatable. In the world of martial arts, only strength is unbeatable. Great strength is unbeatable. Roar! Another bestial howl rang out. Clang! Bailey Lu's heaviest and most ruthless punch landed on the bottom of the wine gourd. Fang Yan, who was wearing shoes, felt that the wine gourd was boiling hot, as if it was about to burn and melt. His toes touched the ground, and his body floated diagonally towards the top of the cliff. Whether it was playing chess or fighting, the most frightening thing was that the two sides had a continuous momentum. After Bailey Lu's 9 punches, his attack had already formed momentum. Unstoppable. The wine gourd's ascent, and his leap were already difficult to stop. All Fang Yan could do was to wait for his overlord's return at the top of the wide line gorge. Whoosh! Fang Yan's toes landed lightly on the ground. In a place that was hard to see with the naked eye, the stones that his feet stepped on turned into ashes, and the weeds turned yellow and withered into mud. The soles of his feet were emitting light smoke, as if his shoes were about to burn. It was not the shoes that were emitting smoke, but Fang Yan's feet that were emitting smoke. If he had not used the power of Taiji to resist, he would have been killed by Bailey Lu's defying God fist when he was standing on top of the wine gourd. Taiji could borrow strength to fight, and so could the defying God fist. As long as you practiced any kind of martial arts to the extreme, you could achieve the same result by different means. The Bailey family's divine fist was good at attack, while the Fang family's Taiji was good at defense. This was also the reason why the Bailey family repeatedly challenged the Fang family. When the world's sharpest spear met the world's strongest shield, what would the result be? This was the answer that everyone wanted to know. The Bailey family also wanted to prove to the outside world that attack was the best defense. Bang! Bailey Lu's body fell heavily, and his feet left 2 deep grooves on the hard concrete floor. The wine gourd continued to fly high into the sky, and then fell down after exhausting its strength. Bailey Lu stretched out one hand and held the wine gourd in his palm. He pulled out the cork and poured the whole bottle of liquor over his head. He opened his mouth and swallowed it. The liquor was emitting thick smoke, and it had already been warmed up by the random punches. The liquor was poured over his head, and the liquor went down his throat. Satisfying, really satisfying, ha 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 ha. Bailey Lu shouted and laughed loudly, unrestrained and arrogant. Idiot. Fang Yin crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at him coldly. The good Daozi was ruined just like that. The liquor was so hot. Wasn't he afraid that it would burn his face? Of course, this was a problem that a handsome man should worry about. Maybe he didn't have to worry about this kind of problem with his looks. I really envy him, Fang Yin thought to himself. The Daozi in the copper pot spilled out, and Bailey Lu closed the cork again. He held the gourd and looked at Fang Yin with a smile and said sarcastically, "Runner Fang, what you used just now was the heart of Taiji." "That's right," Fang Yin said. "It was the heart of Taiji." "The rumor is a lie," Bailey Lu said angrily. "The rumor is that because the heart of Taiji disappeared, you were worried that you would be beaten by Yi Gentle again, so you ran away in a panic. The rumor is wrong. Your heart of Taiji didn't disappear, so why did you do such a dirty thing? You lost the face of the Fang family, and the dignity of us men. Runner Fang, do you know what people think of you now?" Fang Yin smiled bitterly and said, "How could I not know that you shouted so loudly? Runner Fang? Is this the new nickname you gave me?" "Yes." Bailey Lu wiped the corner of his mouth, put a few drops of Daozi into his mouth, and tasted it. He said, "Are you satisfied?" "Whether I am satisfied or not, I can't run away from the nickname Runner Fang, right?" Fang Yin said. "If I am not satisfied, you won't call me that?" "Impossible," Bailey Lu said. "It was Yi Gentle who called me first." Fang Yin felt that his chest was stagnant, and he felt powerless as if his heart was being pressed by a heavy stone. Bailey Lu looked at Fang Yin in confusion and said, "Since the heart of Taiji is still there, why did you run away? Were you still worried that you were no match for Yi Gentle when the heart of Taiji protected you?" "Of course not," Fang Yin denied. "You won't believe the truth even if I tell you." "What is the truth?" "To tell you the truth." Fang Yin glanced around vigilantly and said in a low voice, "I have been competing with Yi Gentle for so many years, and I am used to being beaten by her every year. But this year has been my best year ever. I know that if we compete again, I will definitely knock her down and defeat her. I don't know why, but I am not used to the thought of knocking her down. I think she must be very uncomfortable in her heart. She is such a proud woman, and she wins every year. She must be very disappointed when she suddenly loses, right? You don't want her to get hurt?" "No, you don't want her to be disappointed. Not at all. This is love," Bailey Lu said with absolute certainty. "I knew many years ago that you would have such a day sooner or later." "What day?" Fang Yin widened his eyes. "You mean, Yi Gentle and I are in love?" "Yes." Bailey Lu nodded seriously. "Enemies, enemies. How can you be a family without hatred? You have been fighting for so many years, and it is natural that you like each other. Let me tell you, I knew you would have such a day when I was 18 years old. Although Yi Gentle is violent and unreasonable, she is actually quite beautiful. How about you two just make do with each other? I see. Fang Yin looked like he understood, and said, no wonder I would rather skip class and run away than defeat her. It turns out that I was blinded by love. Bailey Lu, you have to keep it a secret for me. If you are really tired of holding it in, you can't talk to more than 3 people at most. After a pause, Fang Yin said, of course, although I like Yi Gentle a little, I will not marry such an evil woman. Her violence is not worthy of my gentleness and kindness. Chapter 129. To any martial artist with feelings and self-respect, running away in the face of battle was the greatest humiliation. Fang ran. Thinking of this nickname, Fang Yin had the urge to cry. Why do I have to beat that violent woman? I have no grudge against her. I didn't peep at her when she was bathing or touch her breasts. Why do we have to have a competition every year? Isn't it better to have a competition every 30 or 50 years? Everyone will have more time to prepare for the competition, and they won't have too much psychological pressure, of course. It was also a shame for Fang Yin to fall in love with a woman like Yi Ro. A woman who would beat someone up over the head and make them unable to get out of bed for half a month. Who would like such a woman? Was such a woman still a woman? However, compared with running away, he was more afraid that others would say that he ran away because he couldn't beat Yi Ro. Although it was true. Thus, he found a ridiculous and dignified reason for his departure. Because he liked Yi Ro and didn't want her to be hurt. He didn't want to beat her down and make her feel disappointed and regretful. Running away when you can't beat someone is a coward. If he labeled his escape as love, then Fang Yin would be a man of love and righteousness. Fang Yin secretly gave himself hundreds of likes in his heart. He felt that he was so smart. Bailey Lu stared at Fang Yin dumbfounded. He thought to himself, how could he say such shameless words? However, thinking of his usual style of dealing with things, he felt that it was reasonable for him to do such a thing. She won't like you, Bailey Lu said. What? Yi Ro won't like you. People were like this. You could dislike a person, but you wanted everyone in the world to like you. This was especially true for many goddesses. They never thought of marrying a spare tire. But if the spare tire married another woman, the goddesses would still feel a little disappointed and angry. That was the mentality of Fang Ran. He never thought of being with Yi Ro. Thinking of this possibility, he would have nightmares at night. However, he was still angry when he heard Bailey Lu said that Yi Ro wouldn't like him. Why won't she like me? Why wouldn't she like me? Yi Ro said that her man must do 3 things. First, a man of indomitable spirit. Second, a true gentleman who keeps his word. Third, you can beat her. How am I not indomitable? Fang Yin said. How am I not a true gentleman who keeps his promises? How could I lose to her? I just haven't hit her yet. Bailey Lu's eyes became contemptuous and he said, I don't think you can fulfill any of these 3 requests, can you? Fang Yin looked at Bailey Lu with a murderous look and said, I suddenly felt something. Do you like the feeling of Yi Ro? I feel like I won't rest until you're dead, Fang Yin said viciously. Some people don't know how to respect you unless you beat them up. Good. Bailey Lu laughed. Before I was asked to kill you, I was worried that your Taiji heart would disappear, and I would have an unfair advantage. Since your Taiji heart is back in the fight just now, let's have a good fight. I won't rest until you're dead. I'm just saying. Before Fang Yin finished his sentence, Bailey Lu had already run toward him with the wine gourd that weighed more than 50 kilograms in one hand. Before he arrived, the fat gourd's belly had already smashed toward him. Boom! The strong wind whistled like a tiger's roar. Fang Yin stepped back and chose to avoid the first blow. Fang Yin stepped back, but Bailey Lu rushed forward faster and faster. The wine gourd in his hand was ready to be fired, and it kept threatening and pressuring Fang Yin. Bang! Fang Yan's body hit the stone mountain behind him. There was no way to retreat. It was extremely dangerous. Bang! The copper gourd smashed on the stone wall where Fang Yin was without any pause. Crack, crack, gravel kept falling, and a long and thick crack appeared on the huge stone mountain. The cracks continued to extend, and countless fine cracks appeared in the stone. However, Fang Yin had disappeared. Bailey Lu didn't hesitate. He held the copper gourd in one hand and made a 90-degree hook with the other. Bang! Fang Yan's palm collided with Bailey Lu's punch, making a heavy sound. Fang Yan's clothes and hair were stained with dust, and there were several cuts on his face from the stones. He looked a little embarrassed. However, he magically appeared behind Bailey Lu. A palm lightly patted toward Bailey Lu's back, and it collided with Bailey Lu's punch. All these actions happened in an instant. In other words, Fang Yan flashed behind Bailey Lu and counterattacked with his palm, and Bailey Lu immediately blocked with his fist after his attack missed. When a so-called master reached a certain level, he no longer used his eyes to defeat the enemy. He relied on his intuition. Eyes can deceive, and feelings are your most honest and reliable friend. Bailey Lu wanted to disperse after one blow and reorganize a second attack. However, Fang Yan's palm was stuck on his wrist, and he went straight for his vital meridian. Whoosh! Fang Yan hit the vital meridian point on Bailey Lu's wrist. Bailey Lu's body was exhausted, and the wine gourd in his right hand immediately fell to the ground. Fang Yan didn't stop at all. When Bailey Lu lost the ability to attack, he punched Bailey Lu's chest. His ribs were broken, and he really lost the ability to fight. This trick again. Bailey Lu grinned. It was a sly smile, as if his plan had succeeded. He clenched his fist with one hand, and the fist became extremely huge, and there was a faint red light flashing. Soon his fist turned crimson, like a heated sledgehammer. Not only his fist, but even his arm had turned blue and black. This was a sign before it turned red. Fang Yan was shocked. They hadn't seen each other for a long time, and Bailey Lu's god-defying fist had already reached his arm? Wherever the god-defying fist was practiced, that part could break mountains and crush stones as hard as steel. If this was the case, then the fact that he grabbed his wrist meridian was a trap. It was a flaw that he deliberately revealed. His body losing strength and throwing away the gourd was also a disguise, to deceive Fang Yan into letting his guard down. At this moment, Bailey Lu's hand that was holding the gourd reached out and grabbed Fang Yan's shoulder blade. Dragon God lock. It could even lock a dragon god, let alone a small loach like Fang Yan. Bang! Fang Yan's stomach was hit, and the pain almost made him vomit the dinner he had last night. Knee strike. Bang! Another knee strike. Bang! The third strike. Fang Yan felt dizzy, and he wanted to vomit. He had the urge to faint on the spot. He knew that if he really fainted on the ground, Bailey Lu would not hesitate to grab his legs and throw him into the gorge. Although the two of them seemed to be very close on the outside, as if they were old friends for many years. However, they both knew that when the real battle began, neither of them would show mercy to the other. New hatred and old hatred, they would not rest until one of them died. Bailey Lu lifted his calf again. He had already pressed Fang Yan's body lower and lower. This time, he wanted to hit his sternum. As long as his ribs were broken, Fang Yan would become a rabbit waiting to be slaughtered. Bam! Fang Yan's hands pressed on Bailey Lu's knees. Bailey Lu exerted force, and so did Fang Yan. Bailey Lu exerted more force, and Fang Yan used the heart of Tai Chi to borrow force. No matter how hard Bailey Lu tried, he could not hit Fang Yan's ribs with his knee. Do you think you can stop me like this? Bailey Lu laughed wildly. Fang Yan, from today on, I will prove to you that attack is the best defense. The winner of this battle is me. Bailey Godly Fist defeated Fang family's Tai Chi. Are you? Fang Yan's breathing was a little heavy. That was because his lungs were injured. Are you thinking too much? As Fang Yan spoke, he hooked one hand, and Bailey Lu's feet were lifted off the ground at the same time. Fang Yan suddenly straightened his back, and Bailey Lu's body, which was on his shoulder, was abruptly lifted up. He crossed his feet, pressed his body on the ground, and drew Tai Chi with his toes. At the same time, his body also rotated. He held his hands in a circle, and used Bailey Lu's body as an arc of Tai Chi. The heart of Tai Chi rotated crazily, and only a white gas vortex could be seen. But its real body could not be seen clearly. There was a warm and abundant gas in the Chi pit, like a Chi meridian extending to the limbs and the major meridians of the whole body. When it went around in the body and entered the sea of Chi again, Fang Yan felt that he suddenly became energetic and powerful. He felt that his whole body was full of power, and he had an impulse to destroy, and to crush all the enemies. Bailey Lu wanted to struggle, but Fang Yin took the initiative to press him down. He made a move, and Fang Yin pressed him down. He made a kick, and Fang Yin pressed his foot down. Fang Yan's body rotated faster and faster, and his hands danced faster and faster. Bailey Lu's vertical body turned into an oval, and the oval became a circle. There is no heaven and no me. And I am Tai Chi. It had to be said that the feeling of being able to look inside and foresee the enemy was really awesome and pretentious. Bailey Lu's body turned into a ball and became the Tai Chi that Fang Yin was playing with and dancing. Fang Yin raised his hands and Bailey Lu, the meatball, was thrown into the air. Then he leaped into the air. His whole body stretched out, like a big eagle spreading its wings and soaring. When the height of his jump was the same as the height of the meatball, he kicked the meatball away. Bang! The meatball hit the mountain wall, and the sound of bones breaking was heard. Whoosh! Fang Yan's feet landed on the ground. The second round, the Fang family of Tai Chi wins. Fang Yin stood proudly and said in a clear voice. Chapter 130. Fang Yin and Bailey Lu had fought 2 rounds. Of course, in the hearts of some uninformed spectators, they had fought 3 times. In the first round, Fang Yin made an appointment with Bailey Lu to fight 3 days later with the excuse of feeling unwell. Unexpectedly, as soon as Bailey Lu left the Fang family, someone spread the rumor that Fang Yin defeated Bailey Lu in 1 move. Bailey Lu could not explain it, so he could only suppress his anger in his heart. In the second round, Bailey Lu challenged Fang Yin again. The two also made a heavy bet that the defeated party could not take care of his hair or wash his clothes before he challenged his opponent again. Therefore, Bailey Lu became like a savage in the deep mountains today. The third round was today. Bailey Lu came prepared. At a young age, he had practiced the inverse God punch to his arms. He could be called the best of the younger generation of Wulin, and his strength could not be underestimated. Unexpectedly, Fang Yin still turned the tables at the last moment. While he was beaten into a ball, he had to continue to abide by the agreement that his hair could not be taken care of, and his clothes could not be washed. He walked in Jianghu in ragged clothes with this bad hairstyle, was beaten by his father with a stick, and was ridiculed by his peers. The history of Bailey Lu's growth was a tragic history of hardship. Fang Yin stood in the same place, waiting for Bailey Lu's body to hit the stone wall, and then fall to the ground again. He was ready to go up and give him a few more kicks. Bailey Lu's ball-like body was sliding down rapidly. As he slid down, his body gradually stretched out. Obviously, he had broken away from Fang Yan's control and recovered some physical strength and self-awareness. Then, he suddenly punched out, and his blazing red arm was ruthlessly inserted into the stone wall. He was like a gecko hanging on the mountainside, with a stubborn look that he would not go down even if he died. Fang Yin waved to Bailey Lu and shouted, "Bailey Lu, come down. I don't want to go down." As soon as Bailey Lu opened his mouth, he vomited a mouthful of blood. That kid was too ruthless. He was beating him to death. He knew that his body was seriously injured, and his internal organs were also hit hard. He might need a long time to recuperate. "Come down. I have something to discuss with you," shouted Fang Yin. "You lied to me," Bailey Lu roared. His fists were firmly inserted into the cracks of the rocks, unwilling to fall to the ground. "Why would I lie to you? When have I ever lied to you? Apart from the previous misunderstanding, I have never lied to you even once. I swear on my character. Come down and tell me who asked you to kill me. I promise I won't hit you again." "I can't go down." "I can't say," Bailey Lu said. "If you don't come down, I'll go up. I can beat you up. Do you think I can't climb up myself?" Fang Yin was angry and threatened. "Ka, ka, ka." His hands were like 2 indestructible awls, dancing left and right, up and down. In the blink of an eye, he had climbed from the waist of the mountain to the peak. "Fang Yin, you bastard, you son of a b***tch. Bailey Lu stood on the peak and cursed. His long hair was spread out, and it was even more abstract than the hairstyle of Zhang Wuji's godfather. the golden fur-lying king in the heaven sword and dragon saber. His mouth was bleeding, and his eyeballs were protruding. His clothes were torn into strips, and there were countless wounds on his body that were oozing blood. "How can you scold people?" shouted Fang Yan, standing at the foot of the mountain. "A master should have the demeanor of a master. How could he casually scold people? This would lower his dignity and destroy the aura of a master." "I want to scold people, I want to scold you," Bailey Lu roared in exasperation. "You beat me again. Why do you want to beat me again? Why can't you let me win once? Will you die if you let me win once? Do you know that I'm dying? Do you know what kind of life I've been living since I lost to you last time? I haven't had a haircut for 2 years and 5 months. My clothes were rotten, so I took them off and washed them secretly. I can only sleep naked at night, because I'm afraid that if I wear them out, I won't have clothes to wear the next day. My father saw my clothes and stabbed me with a spear, saying that I've lost the face of the ancestors of the Bailey family. What's even more infuriating is that my mother forced me to go on a blind date a few days ago. Beauty Lu's little cousin, that crazy woman, took a look at me and said that she wouldn't make friends with a down-and-out painter." Bailey Lu's eyes were moist, and big drops of tears rolled down his cheeks. "Who's a down-and-out painter? Who's a down-and-out painter? I haven't even held a brush before. I can't even draw an egg. How can I be a painter? Fang Yan, it's all your fault. I must kill you." To be honest, after listening to Bailey Lu's sorrowful attack and accusation, Fang Yan really sympathized with this unlucky child. At that time, both of them were young. In order to make each other's life more miserable, they made such a bet. Unexpectedly, from then on, the life of the gentle, handsome, and charming young master of the Bailey family had become like this. The quality of his life had deteriorated too fast. No wonder this kid couldn't bear it, and came all the way here to kill and take revenge. Fang Yan waved to Bailey Lu and shouted, "Bailey Lu, come down." "I'm not going down, unless you promise me something." "What is it?" "Cancel the previous agreement. I can have a haircut and change my clothes." Bailey Lu shouted. "What did you say?" "Cancel the previous agreement. I can have a haircut and change my clothes." "In your dreams," Fang Yan said angrily. He looked up and said, "It's up to you. If you have the ability, stand on the top for 3 days and 3 nights. I'll consider agreeing to your condition." "Fang Yan, I hate you." Bailey Lu looked at Fang Yan in despair, and ran to the other end of the top of the mountain. Soon, his figure disappeared in front of Fang Yan. "It's all the fault of the blind date." Fang Yan sighed in his heart. A good young man became mentally ill because of the blow he received during the blind date. It was really frightening to think about it. A blind date is fiercer than a tiger. When Fang Yan returned to the hotel, he found that there were no students from class 9 in the restaurant. Even the 2 little girls, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, who said they would wait for him to come back for breakfast, had disappeared. Fang Yan called the waiter over and asked, "Hello, may I ask if those students have eaten?" "Yes," the waiter said. "So fast?" Fang Yan asked in surprise. He and Bailey Lu didn't fight for too long. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be so fast. When those students were eating breakfast, someone ran over and said that they saw Xia Tian filming at Xixia Mountain. The waiter's expression became excited and said with envy, "They all ran to see Xia Tian." "It's Xia Tian again," Fang Yan said gloomily. He had planned to bring the students back to school after they had their fill. These students all ran to find the crew to see the stars. Where could he find them all? "What did you say?" The waiter who was serving Fang Yan soy milk and fried dough sticks stared at Fang Yan fiercely. Her hand stopped and said, "You said it's Xia Tian again? You don't like Xia Tian?" "I don't dislike her." "I mean, you do. I can tell from your tone." The waiter was obviously a hardcore fan of Xia Tian. "Why don't you like Xia Tian? What's wrong with Xia Tian? Do you know how hard Xia Tian works?" The waiter threw the soy milk cup in front of Fang Yan, but forgot to leave him a sugar bun. When she left with the tray, she said discontentedly, "You don't understand Xia Tian. You don't know what kind of woman is a real goddess. You don't understand her. If you understand her, you will fall in love with her." Fang Yan finished the 2 fried dough sticks and a cup of warm unsweetened soy milk on the plate. He wiped his mouth and was ready to look for his students. He found the greeter at the door and asked the direction in which the students left and rushed in that direction. There was no need to deliberately look for them, because there were many people on the road with him. From their excited expressions and topics of discussion, it was obvious that they were also looking for Xia Tian. Fang Yin was not ignorant about Xia Tian. He had also heard of Xia Tian's name. He knew that Xia Tian had acted and sung, but that was all. He didn't expect that this star had such a great influence. Because she was filming at Mount Zhangxia, the tourists of Mount Zhangxia were probably looking for the location of her filming crew. Thinking that the students of Class 9 had abandoned their teacher and ran to find a woman they had never seen before, Fang Yin felt an inexplicable sadness in his heart. Is it really Xia Tian? Is it fake news? It must be Xia Tian. Someone has already taken a photo and posted it on Weibo. It was taken at Mount Zhangxia. Great, I finally have a chance to see Xia Tian. Xia Tian is too low-key. She hasn't held a concert for several years. It's not easy to see her. Low-key? Fang Yin sneered. If she really wanted to be low-key, she wouldn't have deliberately revealed her whereabouts. Letting so many people look for her all over the mountains and plains, how could she be called low-key? At this moment, Fang Yin heard the sound of branches rustling in the woods on a narrow side road. Fang Yin stopped and looked over. He happened to meet a pair of bright and gentle eyes. The woman obviously didn't expect that she would be discovered as soon as she showed her head. She looked anxious and hurriedly made a shushing gesture to Fang Yin. Worried that Fang Yin wouldn't agree, she put her palms together and made a pleading gesture to Fang Yin. Fang Yin was stunned for a moment and shouted in surprise, "You are Xia Tian." Chapter 131. For many people, the word summer is the password to unlock the computer, and the keyword set by the brain automatically. Hearing Fang Yin shout, "You are summer," everyone looked at him. Summer? Where is it? Where is summer? Why don't I see it? Summer, come out, we have already seen you. Everyone searched for a while and did not find the figure of their idol goddess Summer. So they looked at Fang Yin with hostility. Hey, didn't you say you saw Summer? Where is Summer? A young girl wearing glasses looked at Fang Yin and asked angrily. Yes, you liar. Another girl with a cap next to the girl was also angry. How can you lie at such a young age? A middle-aged uncle followed them and accused Fang Yin. Fang Yin remembered very clearly that it was this middle-aged uncle who shouted, Summer, come out. We have already seen you. And other lies to the woods. Can't lie at such a young age. Can you only lie when you're old? When Fang Yin figured out that the woman who gestured to him to be silent and begged him to help keep it a secret was the big star Summer that they were looking for, he didn't mean to keep it a secret for her. How can a star refuse to see her fans? Signing a photo and treating them to dinner is a matter of course. However, hearing these fans accusing and attacking him, Fang Yin changed his mind. Don't you want to see your idol? I won't tell you where your idol is. I have seen Summer. Fang Yin said innocently. Where? Why didn't we see it? The girl with glasses searched around again. The blooming flowers are summer, the green grass is summer, the leafy saplings are summer, the thorns and thorns are also summer. Fang Yin pointed to the surrounding scenery and said, the birds in the sky are summer, the fish in the river are summer, and the earthworms in the soil are summer. Where is summer? Summer is in our eyes and in our hearts. Fang Yin looked at the middle-aged uncle and said, Uncle, didn't you say you saw Summer? Why are you still asking me where Summer is? Who are you calling uncle? Who are you calling uncle? You look even older than me, and you still have the nerve to call me uncle. The uncle was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. Crazy, the bespectacled girl cursed. This person is really annoying. I thought he saw the Summer, but it turns out he's a poet. Since they didn't get the information they wanted from Fang Yin, they followed their original plan and continued forward to search for Summer. Fang Yin waited for them to leave before he walked to the front of the dense forest at the fork and said, Come out. The branches and leaves swayed, and a beautiful figure in an ancient costume stood in front of Fang Yin. Elegant and refined, otherworldly like an immortal. This was Fang Yan's first impression of her. Just now, it was just a hurried exchange of glances. At that time, all Fang Yan could see was the purity and worry in her eyes. Now that she was standing in front of Fang Yan was able to redefine her perception and understanding. She is indeed a beautiful woman. Fang Yan thought. How could this be? The girl said in a sweet voice. Even when she was angry, she was still so gentle and pleasant. What should I do? Fang Yan asked. I already told you not to make a sound, and not to tell them where I am. Why did you expose my whereabouts? Xiaji said angrily. Fang Yan laughed, pointed at the crowd and said, if I had deliberately exposed your whereabouts, you would have been surrounded by them by now, right? But you, Xiaji thought about it, but really couldn't blame Fang Yan for doing something wrong. Although he had asked that very inappropriate question, but he did not really betray himself. Then you can't compare me to some fish in the water or earthworm in the soil. I'm describing summer. Spring, summer, autumn and winter. It has nothing to do with you, Fang Yan said. Xiaji scanned his surroundings and frowned. Carrying his cumbersome ancient robe, he hesitated on where to go next. The news that the crew of the Divine Furnace was filming at the Xixia Mountain was accidentally discovered by someone. And someone even took a photo of her and posted it on the internet. Now, all the tourists in the Xixia Mountain were looking for her. It was said that a large number of fans were rushing towards the Xixia Mountain. The crew of the Divine Furnace was already surrounded, and she was brought out by Feng Yuanqing from a small path. In order to distract the group of people who were following him, Feng Yuanqing deliberately led them to another fork in the road. Now, she was the only one left walking in the mountains. She was at a loss for what to do. The crew couldn't go back. She didn't know the way up the mountain, and she could be surrounded by the huge number of fans at any time. The most tragic thing was that her phone was still in the hands of her assistant. How could she deal with such a complicated situation by herself? Her helpless and pitiful appearance touched a certain chord in Fang Yan's heart. He suddenly felt that if he didn't help this woman at this time, he would despise himself along with many others. And she was such a beautiful woman. You're Xiaji, right? Fang Yan asked. Xiaji had already regained her composure, and regained her composure as a big star. She said, Yes, I'm Xiaji. Where are you going? Fang Yan asked. Where to? Xiaji thought for a moment and said, I haven't thought about it yet. Maybe I should go to the police for help. I mean, if I really have to. Fang Yan sighed. A while ago, a Korean star came to Huaxia to participate in an event. In the end, he was chased by a large group of fans and didn't even have the chance to pee. He could only ask the police station on the highway for help. Now another star was chased by fans and wanted to go to the police. It's really not easy to be a star. Fang Yan somewhat sympathized with Tang Tianwang back then. He was so popular that there was no one before him. Wasn't his life too exciting? Is there anything I can help you with? Fang Yan asked. Xiaji looked at Fang Yan and said, I think you look very familiar. Fang Yan took out a business card from his pocket and said, A man named Zhang Wei came to me and said he was your agent. So it's you. Xiaji was shocked and overjoyed. It was too far away at that time, so I couldn't see it clearly. I just feel that when you do Tai Chi, there's an indescribable charm there. That's why I wanted to cooperate with you. I'm sorry, I was too presumptuous. It's nothing. Fang Yan stuffed the business card into his pants pocket again. Although I refuse to cooperate with you, I can't be angry with you if you insist on praising me like this. I'll take you to a place. Fang Yan said. Where are we going? Xiaji looked at Fang Yan warily. With her current status, it was really not suitable for her to be too close to a young man. Moreover, this man was quite strange. Fang Yan squinted his eyes and smiled, saying, Miss Xia, you actually don't have much of a choice. Either you come with me, or you'll be surrounded by real fans. You'll also be taken advantage of by some fake fans. Back then, when Tang Tianwang was disguised as a woman, there were men who sneaked into the fan group to touch his butt. Xiaji felt her scalp go numb and goosebumps all over her body. She resisted the urge to turn around and look at her butt. She looked into Fang Yan's eyes and said, Why should I believe you? I'm a teacher at Rosefinch Secondary. This time, I came to Xixia Mountain to bring my students to travel. If you don't believe me, this is my teacher's ID. As Fang Yan spoke, he took out his work ID and the list of students in class 9 from his pocket and showed them to Xia Xia. Xia Ji carefully studied it and confirmed that it wasn't fake. He returned the ID to Fang Yan and said apologetically, "I'm really sorry, I have to be more careful. Then I'll have to trouble you. It's a bit troublesome." Fang Yan looked at the white robe and the high bun on his head and said, "If you don't want to be recognized immediately, I suggest you change your clothes." Change clothes? Xia Ji frowned. She was interrupted by the surging fans in the middle of filming, so she ran out in her costume. If she had a change of clothes, she would have changed long ago. Why would she wait until now? Wait a moment, Fang Yan said. He looked around, but didn't see any clothing stores nearby. Thus, his gaze shifted to Xia Ji and said, "Actually, it's not that there's no way, it's just, you need to make some sacrifices." Xia Ji had indeed made a great sacrifice. If the outside world saw the noble goddess of the entertainment circle with a white veil covering her face like an Arab woman, and only revealing a pair of eyes, they would probably be shocked. Fang Yan couldn't help Xia Ji by a change of clothes, so he took off the large piece of white veil on her head and wrapped it around her head. She changed the robe she was wearing into a large robe worn by Arab women. It was simple and convenient, and it wasn't easy to attract attention. Fang Yan was going to take Xia Ji back to the hotel they rented to temporarily avoid the limelight, and then call her assistant to come over and quietly pick her up. Just as they walked to the lobby of the hotel, they happened to meet Tangcheng, who was accompanying Qin Yitian out for a walk. Tangcheng stared at Fang Yan with wide eyes, a look of disbelief. "Teacher Fang Yan, did he pick up another girl?" Moreover, it was a woman full of exotic charm. Chapter 132. When Tangcheng saw Fang Yan come back with an Arabian girl, his first reaction was to turn around and look at Qin Yitian's face. To his disappointment, Qin Yitian's face showed no emotion. It was as if he didn't see it at all. Tangcheng was a little disappointed, but on second thought, he quickly returned to normal. "Pretend. Keep pretending. Let's see how you can pretend." Tangcheng knew Qin Yitian to a certain extent, and he knew that this girl was not the same as other girls. Ordinary girls liked and didn't like, and their emotions could be seen at a glance. Qin Yitian's aura was strong, and she spoke and did things frankly and directly. However, that was her real body, or it could be her disguise. She was like a mystery. She was deeper and more introverted. It was difficult to see her mind clearly, and it was even more difficult to pry into the secrets in her heart. If Qin Yitian really liked Fang Yan, how could she not be angry when she saw such a scene? The reason why she didn't show it was because she hid it in her heart, or she didn't like Fang Yan at all. The picture of Fang Yan dancing Tai Chi on the top of Zhangxia Mountain kept appearing in Tangcheng's mind, as if his heart was covered with a layer of haze. How could you defeat such a man, such a rival in love? Now, the wind blew away the haze and the sun shone. Tangcheng suddenly became happy. Fang Yan nodded to Tangcheng, and then walked toward the hotel elevator with Xia Xia in his arms. Tangcheng looked at the backs of Fang Yan and the Arabian girl as they left, then turned to Qin Yitian and said, "Haha, Mr. Fang is really popular with women." Qin Yitian took a deep look at Tangcheng and said, "Childish." Tangcheng felt as if he had been stabbed in the chest. "How am I childish? Did I do something wrong again? I was so quick-witted and discreetly gave teacher Fang Yan some eyesight. Could it be that you also found out?" When Qin Yitian and Tangcheng boarded the elevator, Fang Yan and the Arabian girl had already disappeared. Qin Yitian did not return to his room, but said to Tangcheng, "Mr. Fang has a guest. Let's go and greet him." Tangcheng grinned and said, "Yes, we should go and say hello." He thought to himself, "I was right, you still care about me. You're still angry." Thinking that Qin Yitian actually cared that Fang Yan was angry because he took another woman back to his room, the smile on Tangcheng's face instantly froze. He wanted to cry. Bang! As the door to the room was closed, Xia Xia's heart also followed the sound of the door slamming heavily. A hotel on a high mountain, A man and a woman meeting for the first time, a tightly closed oak door. To be honest, such an environment was too dangerous. Such an atmosphere was too ambiguous. Xia Xia was at a loss. She had been in the entertainment industry for many years. Because of her purity and good family environment, her life had always been simple and monotonous. She liked to sing, so she simply sang. She tried to act, but it was just a simple act. Her daily life and work matters were taken care of by her assistant and agent, and the company would come forward to solve the bigger matters. She rarely went to negotiate or communicate with others in person. Some people said that she was the goddess of the entertainment industry, and God rarely appeared in the public eye. Fang Yin saw Xia Xia's awkwardness and comforted her. Don't worry. I'm not as bad as you think. After listening to Fang Yan's comfort, Xia Xia was even more worried. However, she still pretended to be calm and said, I believe you. A martial artist who can play that kind of big pattern and momentum must not be a bad person. You can't say that. Fang Yin sighed. There are a lot of bastards in our circle, and their martial arts are quite good. He has both talent and looks. I just beat one away. Don't judge a book by its cover. The results could be very hurtful. Xiaji stared at Fang Yin even more vigilantly. She didn't know if she should choose to believe this seemingly honest guy, or not judge a book by its cover and categorize him as a bastard. You still don't believe me? Fang Yin looked at Xia Chen's nervous expression and said, I have already shown my sincerity enough. If you really don't believe me, then I'll leave first. No need. Xiaji hurriedly stopped her. Although she felt that this was a good idea, she really couldn't do such a rude thing. She was already very apologetic that the dove had occupied the bird's nest, but now she had chased the master out while staying in the room. Was this really okay? It had to be said that the summer goddess was quite gentle and kind. I'm just saying, Fang Yin said with a smile. If you agree, it proves that you don't believe me. If you don't believe me, I'm sure I won't help you anymore. We can't be good friends. Then I'll have to ask you to leave. You can take off the veil on your head. Fang Yin said. To be honest, Xiachen really didn't want to take off the veil. Because of the cover of this white veil, she felt safer. Moreover, when she was angry or shy, she didn't have to worry about being seen. However, now that he had entered the room, wouldn't it be too disrespectful if he didn't take off the veil? Xiaji turned around slightly and took off the white cloth on her head. Her elegant and refined face was revealed. Her cheeks were red, but her eyes didn't meet Fang Yan's gaze. She said, Teacher Fang Yan, why did you reject Zhang Wei's invitation? I sincerely want to cooperate with you. I've already explained it very clearly. If it's not a big production, I won't accept it. Fang Yin said. What's Tang Tianwang's first play? Black Man. I've read his biography. Xia said. Yeah. His first movie had a box office of over $1 billion. My first time on screen was just to be a male lead in MTV. Thinking about it made my heart feel very unbalanced. Am I worse than him? Obviously not. Oh right, I'm the male lead, right? No. Then what should I do? My new album will try to do some classical Huaxia style songs. I want to film the scene of you doing Tai Chi. I only have one scene. It's a distant view. Do you see the face? I might not be able to. If you want to see, it's fine. We can discuss it. There was really no way to continue this topic. Fang Yin felt that he had been insulted. Fang Yin invited Xiachen to sit down and lent her his phone so that she could call her assistant or manager and have them pick her up. Thank you. After making the call, he returned the phone to Fang Yin and said gratefully, You're welcome. Fang Yin said, I didn't intend to help you at first, but then your fans attacked me, so I deliberately didn't let them see you. Besides, you're also a star, and I feel very proud to help you. Xia Chen felt that he was about to collapse. Big brother, do you have to be so straightforward? You're hurting others like this, okay? Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. Xia Chen was shocked and looked at Fang Yin and said, Did they chase us here? No. Fang Yin walked over to open the door and said, I'll introduce 2 students to you. The door opened, and sure enough, Qi Nitian and Tang Qing stood at the door. Qi Nitian looked at Xia Chen And Xiachen was also looking at the gentle but aggressive Qin Yitian. This girl is so beautiful, Xiachen thought in his heart. He also felt that beautiful was really difficult to describe Qin Yitian's temperament. If he used arrogant, it would be a derogatory word. However, she was really proud of herself. Qin Yitian ignored the existence of Fang Yan and went straight to Xiachen. He took the initiative to reach out to Xiachen and said, "I like your role as Little Qing in Green Snake. It's gentle, seductive, full of spirituality and offensive. Thank you for giving this role a soul. I'm Qin Yitian, a student of Fang Yan. Nice to meet you, Xiachen. I'm also very happy to meet you." Xiachen felt that everyone he saw today was so strange. The teacher's poisonous tongue was direct, and the students were arrogant and direct. There was no need for pleasantries or polite words. Everyone came naked, without any fear or respect, because of his identity as a big star. Qin Yitian, you're really special. There are 4 seasons in a year, and each season has 91 days. Summer is not the most special. However, in the 1.3 billion Huaxia's mouth, there is only one singing and acting summer, and you are also the most special. Qin Yitian said with a smile. You know each other? Tangqing looked at Qin Yitian, then looked at Xiachen, and asked with a surprised face. These 2 women looked very familiar. What made it even more difficult for him to understand was that Qin Yitian had been with him at that time, and Xiachen was wrapped in white cloth, and went upstairs with Fang Yan. Why was she so sure that that woman was the big star Xiachen? Qin Yitian turned to look at Tangqing and said, "First, Fang Yan doesn't know Arabic, so it's impossible for him to bring an Arab woman back to get a room. Second, Xiachen disappeared, and now all the tourists in the scenic area are looking for her. Third, I don't think it's strange for a woman to cover her head and face and wear a robe. A woman who dresses like this and wears this kind of boots must have just come back from ancient times, or is preparing to go back to ancient times. I think she should be the latter. In this case, there is only one person in the whole Xixia mountain who would do this kind of thing, Xiachen." Tangqing was stunned. Fang Yan and Xiachen also couldn't calm down for a long time. They thought it was foolproof, but it turned out that there were many loopholes in this girl's eyes. Whether you can conquer a woman or not, it doesn't just depend on whether you are good enough. Qin Yitian looked at Tangqing and said, "You also have to be good at discovering and thinking, right?" Tangqing said with a face of self-blame. He felt that he was too careless. Why couldn't he think of what Qin Yitian thought of? It also depends on your face. Qin Yitian said. Chapter 133. Liar. Tangqing said. He was better looking than Fang Yan, and he was the Prince Charming in the eyes of all the girls in Rosefinch High School. Why didn't Qin Yitian like him just because of his face? I said shameless. Qin Yitian said. Tangqing looked helpless. This sort of request was really too much to ask of him. Fang Yan laughed and said, "Tangqing, it seems that you need to work harder." Shameless. Ha 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 ha. This is what Mr. Fang is good at. Tangqing looked at Fang Yan, who was laughing, and said, "I will learn from Mr. Fang." Puchi. This time, the person who couldn't help laughing was Xia Xia. It was so fun. These teachers and students were so fun. She had never seen a student who got along so well with the teacher, and she had never seen a middle school teacher who was so tolerant to the students. Moreover, a male student was pursuing another female student in front of the teacher. Such a thing made her very surprised. When she was in high school, her classmates didn't have the guts to talk about such a topic in front of the teacher. Even puppy love was strictly forbidden by the school. If the teacher knew that a boy and a girl in the class were close, they would try to separate them, and even call their parents to complain. The current era was really very different from the past. Xia Xia Goddess laughed so hard that she couldn't stand up straight with her hands on her stomach. Her eyes were red, and tears were about to flow out. Finding that everyone was looking at her with a strange expression, Xia Xia tried to stop laughing and said with a red face, I'm sorry. I just think that you guys are very interesting, so I couldn't help laughing. I didn't mean to. Teacher Fang Yin is interesting, we are far from it. Tangqing said with a sour heart. This request of Qin Yitian really put him in a difficult position. If she asked for other things, any of them, he could change for her and try his best to fulfill them. However, if he were to be shameless, it would really make one anxious. You think you can be shameless just because you don't want to? Shameless and still making people think that she was cute. This required talent, okay? Ovo Fang Yin was very angry. Student Tangcheng, have you ever touched your own conscience when you slander me like this? Who was the one who risked his life to save you when you were ambushed by Chiba Haomu? Even if you're an ungrateful person, there should be a time limit, right? How long has it been since I saved you? Look. Tangcheng pointed at Fang Yen and said to Xia Xia, Mr. Fang is really interesting. It's true that you saved me, but is that considered risking your life? You suddenly erupted into a Super Saiyan and beat the little monster to the point that it couldn't fight back. But I didn't see you facing any life-threatening danger. Besides, he was worried that the Wu Ren investigation team would take revenge on him. And he was also worried that he would be punished by the school leaders. So he ran to the ward and threatened to pretend to be in a vegetative state. Was that really a good thing to do? Xia Chen suddenly envied this kind of teacher-student relationship. He looked at Fang Yen and said, Your students must like you a lot, right? There's no reason for them not to like me. Fang Yen said, It's not that I'm bragging to you, but it's not easy to find a teacher like me. They all understand this. I'm really confused. You're so good at Tai Chi. Why did you become a teacher? Tai Chi teacher? Xia asked. With Fang Yan's students by her side, Xia Chen wasn't as nervous and restrained as before. Moreover, she felt that Fang Yan was a very interesting person and wanted to know more about him. Only by knowing what kind of person he was would it be convenient for them to cooperate in the future. I'm a language teacher, Fang Yan said with a smile. I know more than just Tai Chi. Mr. Fang also knows how to fence. Tangcheng said. Fang Yan was furious and said, Tangcheng, why are you cursing again? Mr. Fang, I'm talking about the sword of the treasured sword, not the cheap of the slut. Of course I know that's what you're talking about, Fang Yan said. I'm just joking with you. With a smile on his face, Xia Xia looked at Fang Yan and asked, Mr. Fang, do we really not have a chance to cooperate? I want to make a Huaxia style song, and I want to fuse more Huaxia elements into it. I feel that Tai Chi is indispensable. As for you, I was very moved when I saw the great momentum of Tai Chi at the peak of the Xingxia mountain. I think we can try to cooperate. I'll think about it, Fang Yan said. Seeing that Fang Yan was still unwilling to agree to her invitation, Xia Xia no longer forced herself to change the topic. She chatted with Fang Yan Tangcheng about the interesting things that happened in school when she was studying. Qi Nitian sat on a chair, sipping tea as she listened. She rarely spoke. Compared to the summer, she was more like a big star. Dong dong dong, there was a knock on the door. Fang Yan saw two men and a woman standing at the door with worried faces from the peephole. He turned around and said, Zhang Wei is here. As he spoke, he also opened the door. Feng Yuanqing was the first to rush in. Seeing Xia Xia, who was sitting on the chair safe and sound, he asked anxiously, Xia, are you all right? Feng Yuanqing's face was covered in sweat, and his clothes were tattered by the thorns on the tree branches. From the looks of it, he did run a lot, and he was very worried and concerned about Xia Xia. I'm fine, Xia Xia said with a smile. It's all thanks to teacher Fang Yan's help. Otherwise, I would be in a terrible situation right now. Those people were chasing too closely. It wasn't easy to get rid of them. When I ran back to look for you, I couldn't find you anymore. It's good that you're fine. Feng Yuanqing looked at Fang Yin warily and said, Let's go. We can't stay here for long. We have to hurry down the mountain. If those fanatical fans find out about this place, we won't be able to leave even if we want to. Xia Xia stood up and thanked Fang Yin once again, saying, Mr. Fang, thank you very much. If it's convenient, can you leave a business card for us to contact? I don't have a business card. Fang Yin smiled and shook his head. Then, it's fine to write down a phone number. Xiaji insisted. Feng Yuanqing saw that Xia Xia was too enthusiastic about the young man in front of him, and said with great dissatisfaction, Xia, let's go first. Let assistant Zhang contact him. Xia's expression changed slightly, but he forced himself not to say anything. Fang Yin was very unhappy. He looked at Feng Yuanqing and said, Do you like Miss Xia a lot? What did you say? Feng Yuanqing said with an unfriendly expression. If you like it, then you like it. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. You don't even have the courage to admit your feelings? What does my business have to do with you? Feng Yuanqing said with a sneer. Why should I tell you? Feng Yuanqing was not stupid. If he confessed his feelings for Xia on the spot, if the media found out about this, it would definitely cause a raging storm. It would be fine if Xia accepted his pursuit, but if he didn't, it would be a huge loss of face. Of course it does. If you want to pursue Miss Xia, you have to at least be more open-minded and calm. Based on my many years of experience with women, Miss Xia is a gentle and kind woman. This kind of woman hates petty men the most. If you don't want to lose the chance to compete for Miss Xia, then quickly apologize to me and ask me to forgive you. If you do, don't worry. I won't deliberately make things difficult for you. Why should I apologize to you? Why should I ask for your forgiveness? Feng Yuanqing was really angered by Fang Yan. What did I do to you? I didn't do anything. Miss Xia and I are friends. We are friends, so why are you getting involved in the middle? Fang Yan then revealed the real reason for his dissatisfaction. Friend. Feng Yuanqing's face was full of ridicule. Do you think anyone can become friends with Xia after saying a few words? I know you helped Xia, and I will get someone to repay you. But don't carelessly make friends. It's not appropriate for others to laugh at you and make yourself a laughingstock. What do you mean by that? Who do you think you are? Tangqing was angry and said rudely in front of Fang Yan. His feelings for Fang Yan were very complicated. He was grateful to Fang Yan from the bottom of his heart for saving his life, admired his erudition, and worshipped his deep martial arts foundation. However, Qin Yitian's initiative to attack Fang Yan gave him a headache. After all, Qin Yitian was the one and only girl in his life. He really didn't know how he could persist if there was no Qin Yitian in his life. Maybe he would usually tease or ridicule Fang Yan. But when outsiders came to attack Fang Yan, he couldn't bear to be the first to jump out to help Fang Yan. Why can't Mr. Fang be friends with Xia? Can it be that Xia's friend can only be a pretty boy like you? Who are you calling a pretty boy? Do you believe that I will let someone sue you for slander? Feng Yuanqing was really angry. He was indeed young, and his skin was very white, but he saw himself as an idol and a powerful actor. Wasn't it insulting to be called a pretty boy? If you don't learn well at such a young age, you won't have any future prospects when you grow up. This time, Fang Yan was not going to let it go. You can't scold him, but you can scold his students for growing up to be useless. Isn't that a blatant slap in his face? This was even more unacceptable. Fang Yan looked at Xia and asked, Are we friends? Xia glanced at Feng Yuanqing and said in a soft but firm voice, Yes, you are my friend. Chapter 134. You're also my friend. Fang Yan said solemnly. The reason he asked Xia if he was his friend was to know what to do next. If Xia despised her identity as a teacher, or if she felt that Feng Yuanqing was more important to her, in order to take care of Feng Yuanqing's face, she would give a negative answer. Then from now on, the two of them would no longer have any interactions. Moreover, he would no longer take into account Xia wishes and attitude when dealing with this matter. So what if you're a big star? It's not like you'll give me $1 million or a sincere smile. Now that Xia said that he was her friend, Fang Yan had to consider her feelings and feelings. The fact that she was able to say such words in such an environment proved that she really valued him and his help to her. This was a good woman of good character. Feng Yuanqing looked at Xia with a face full of shock, a little incredulous that she would make such a choice. He and Xia had known each other for many years and had a close relationship. Moreover, they were the male and female leads of the same show. Whether it was public or private, he should be on his side, right? Who is that guy? He was just a nameless little minion that he had met for the first time. How could she hurt herself for him? Did she know how sad, and how shameful she would be if she did this? If he took too big a step, he would pull on his eggs. Feng Yuanqing suddenly felt that this world was too dark. Xia Yu? Feng Yuanqing looked at Xia Chen in disbelief and asked in confusion. Feng Yuanqing, Feng Yan is my friend. Xia Chen said again. Just like you are my friend. But we've known each other for many years. Feng Yuanqing was heartbroken. Old friends are friends, and new friends are also friends. Xia said. She had a soft personality and didn't like to argue with others. Therefore, many things were based on the principle of, I would rather have less trouble than trouble. However, this did not mean that she was an idiot who did not understand human emotions. If she was really such a woman, she would not have been able to achieve what she had today. She and Feng Yuanqing had known each other for many years, because Feng Yuanqing had deliberately gotten close to her. And Feng Yuanqing himself was not some evil man. The two of them could be considered to have a close personal relationship. This time, the company asked her and Feng Yuanqing to play the male and female leads of the same play, and she did not reject it. Feng Yuanqing was quite popular and had good acting skills. He was definitely qualified to be the male lead. However, Feng Yuanqing had a trait that made people uncomfortable, and that was that he loved to make choices for others. He will order his favorite dishes for you to eat. If he likes it, he'll pour it for you. He will help you choose your clothes. He will interfere with your freedom of life. For example, just now, when Xia was asking for Feng Yan's phone number, Feng Yuanqing put his arm around her shoulder and wanted to take her away. Xia Chen was really grateful to Feng Yan. If it wasn't for Feng Yan's selfless help, she might have encountered a lot of trouble today. If there were people with malicious intentions inside, she might encounter many unimaginable things. Through the short period of contact, although Feng Yan's mouth was a little poisonous and his words and actions were a little too direct, he was still a good person. Moreover, he was really good at Tai Chi. She really wanted to invite Feng Yan to join the production of her new album. She respected Feng Yuanqing and treated her as a friend. However, a friend did not mean that he could make all the decisions for her. Xia, don't misunderstand. I'm just afraid that you'll be tricked. Feng Yuanqing quickly explained. He really couldn't understand. Could a new friend compare to an old friend? Besides, why could he become a friend of Xia Chen? Just because he was lucky enough to help Xia Chen today? The people who wanted to help Xia Tian could line up from the top of the mountain to the downtown area of Huaqing. Could it be that everyone could become friends with Xia Tian? Tang Qing was furious and said, Who are you calling a liar? I'll say who's guilty. Feng Yuanqing also felt that it was meaningless to compete with a little brat. However, he didn't bring any staff or assistants with him, so there was no one to speak for him. If he didn't retaliate, then he would only be able to suffer in silence. Xia glanced at Feng Yuanqing and said, This is my business. I believe I will handle it well. Feng Yuanqing smiled awkwardly and said, I believe in you too. I'll wait for you at the door. Don't delay too long. I'm worried that they'll discover your whereabouts and chase after us. If that happens, it'll be troublesome for us to leave. Feng Yuanqing turned around and was about to leave when he heard someone shout from behind. Wait a minute. Feng Yuanqing turned to look at Feng Yan and said with a frown, What do you want? Did you see me playing Tai Chi in the Line Gorge? Feng Yan asked. Feng Yuanqing carefully sized up Feng Yan and said in surprise, Is that you? Of course, he knew that someone was playing Tai Chi in the direction of the Line Gorge. Because the sky was still dark and the distance was too far, he could only see a blurry figure, but he couldn't see Feng Yan's appearance clearly. Now that he heard it from Feng Yan himself, he knew that the guy standing in front of him was the Tai Chi performer. Feng Yuanqing also knew that Feng Yan had rejected Zhang Wei's invitation. How did they get together again? Could it be that kid was playing hard to get? It's me, Feng Yan said with a smile. If I fight with you, you won't even have the chance to make a move. Are you threatening me? Feng Yuanqing said coldly. It's not a threat. I just want to tell you that if I'm in a bad mood and beat you up, you can only cry for help. Can't I call the police? Feng Yuanqing said with a disdainful expression. If you dare to touch me, do you know what kind of consequences you will have to bear? I will beat you to the ground. Fang Yin said. Feng Yuanqing arrogantly raised his head, his face full of mockery. I will strip you naked and take nude photos of you. Fang Yin said. Feng Yuanqing's eyes were like knives as he stared at Fang Yin fiercely. I will strip him naked too, and let the two of you hug each other, and take nude photos. Fang Yin pointed to Zhang Wei and said. Zhang Wei was anxious and said, Why me? Why can't it be you? I'm not familiar with you. Fang Yin said. Besides, there are only 3 men in this room. One is my apprentice, and the other is myself. Neither of us is suitable. I can only trouble you to help me on camera. You don't have to worry. I have no enmity with you. I just want to ask you for a small favor. Zhang Wei felt that he had been shot even though he was lying down. What do you want? Feng Yuanqing said angrily. Apologize. Fang Yin said. Apologize to my students. Apologize to my students and teachers. Feng Yuanqing was silent, unwilling to bow to Fang Yin in front of Xia. Kacha. Tangchen crushed the glass in his hand, then grabbed a handful of glass fragments, and looked at Feng Yuanqing with a cold smile. I'm sorry. Feng Yuanqing clenched his fists, and said while gritting his teeth. Fang Yin looked at Qin Etian and asked, Did you record it? No. Qin Etian folded his arms and replied indifferently. He looked as if it had nothing to do with him. Then say it again. Fang Yin said to Feng Yuanqing. Let me record it. Xia left. She was picked up by her assistant manager. When she left, she once again invited Fang Yin, hoping that he could join the production of her new album. Fang Yin once again tactfully refused. Feng Yuanqing also left. He left with his enmity and hatred towards Fang Yin. Fang Yin didn't care about it at all. He wasn't going to make a living behind Feng Yuanqing's, so he didn't care about his attitude. The students who couldn't find Xia's whereabouts all came back. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin also came back. Fang Yin asked Huang Haoran to organize the team again, and then brought a group of students down the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, they took a tourist bus back to the city. Jiang Qin's home was in the western part of the city. When the tourist bus passed by the western part of the city, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had to get off early. Jiang Qin sat next to Fang Yin and reluctantly looked at Fang Yin and said, Mr. Fang, you promised me. You will invite me to visit your place and help me with my homework. I just said that I would invite you to visit my place. I didn't say that I would help you with your homework. Fang Yin said with a smile. You said it, you can't deny it. Jiang Qin said rudely. Yes, you said it, I heard it all. Yuan Lin chimed in from the side. Fang Yin nodded helplessly and said, Okay. If there is anything you don't understand, you can ask me. You should go back quickly. Don't play too late, and let your family worry. Don't worry. Our family will be very relieved. Jiang Qin said with a smile. Because we are with you. Don't you believe in yourself? Fang Yin smiled and waved to the 2 little girls. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin carried the drawing board and the toolbox, and waved to Fang Yin. Then they waved to the other students of the 9th class and said, Goodbye, senior sisters. It's a pleasure to see you. Goodbye, little beauty. Jiang Qin, Yuan Lin, goodbye. Come and find us often to play. After a day of getting along, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had become friends with the students of the 9th class. Everyone's relationship was very good. Seeing them leave early, the students were a bit reluctant. I will come and find you often, Jiang Qin said with a chuckle. You still have to find our Mr. Fang. Everyone laughed and waved goodbye. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin got off the bus. When the door was about to close, Jiang Qin suddenly squeezed out from the door. The bus driver was shocked and shouted, Girl, do you want to die? Jiang Qin's face was red. She put a paper tube in Fang Yan's hand and said, Uncle, this is for you. After that, she turned around and ran out of the bus. Fang Yan was left with a thin body and a flying ponytail. Chapter 135. Because it was a school-chartered bus, the tour bus drove directly to the campus of Rosefinch Secondary before stopping. The students carried their luggage and got off the bus one after another. Everyone who left would warmly greet Fang Yin and say, "See you tomorrow." Through this trip to Zhangxia Mountain, the relationship between Fang Yin and the students of the 9th class had taken a step closer. His prestige in the eyes of the students was rising day by day. Zheng Guodong carried his bag and got off the bus. He glanced at Fang Yin and left with a complicated expression. Li Yang and Chen Tao walked to Fang Yin. Li Yang said, "Mr. Fang, thank you." Fang Yin patted Li Yang's shoulder and said, "I'm your teacher. I just did what I should do. You're students. You should also do what you should do." Chen Tao's arm was still a bit stiff, so Li Yang helped him carry his bag. He stood in front of Fang Yin and said guiltily, "Mr. Fang, we've done a lot of things to let you down in the past. I thought a lot last night. Zheng Guodong suddenly turned around and glared fiercely at Li Yang and Chen Tao. He shouted, "You two, how long are you going to dawdle?" Chen Tao wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he just lowered his head and sighed as he walked toward Zheng Guodong. Li Yang smiled apologetically at Fang Yin and hurriedly carried a few bags and ran forward. Qin Yitian stood in front of Fang Yin and glanced at the backs of Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Chen Tao who were walking away. He said in a flat tone, "It seems that the effect of buying people's hearts is not bad. Someone is ready to surrender?" Fang Yin looked at Qin Yitian in surprise and said, "What do you know?" "I know I should know." Qin Yitian waved at Fang Yin and casually walked out of the school with his hands in the pockets of his hoodie. Tang Cheng waved his hand at Fang Yin and quickly caught up with Qin Yitian in front of him, saying, "Qin Yitian, let me take you home." "No need. I can protect you." "I don't need protection. I can talk to you." "I don't like talking." "It's your right to refuse, but it's my right to accompany and protect you." Tang Cheng insisted that he would send Qin Yitian home, even if he had to die. "You can't stop me from exercising my rights." Qin Yitian stopped. He looked at Tang Cheng and said, "You have indeed become very shameless." Tang Cheng blushed and said embarrassedly, I'm learning from Mr. Fang." Fang Yin doesn't blush when he says this. Qin Yitian looked at Fang Yin from a distance and said, "I'll continue to learn." Tang Cheng looked like he was drunk, and his face was even redder. His bashful look was really a very cute boy. "You are not him, and don't learn from him," Qin Yitian advised. She turned around and walked away, saying, "If you want to accompany me, follow me." "Really?" Tang Cheng was overjoyed. He followed Qin Yitian happily and said, "How do you usually go home? Do we take the bus or take a taxi? The bus is too crowded, and the weather is so hot. I'm afraid you won't be used to it. Let's take a taxi. It's more spacious and air-conditioned. Of course, if you like the bus, it doesn't matter. I can accompany you." Before he could finish his sentence, Tang Cheng saw a majestic and unusually dazzling Rolls Royce parked in front of the school gate. Seeing Qin Yitian coming, the door of the passenger seat was pushed open. An old man in a black robe with a straight back took the initiative to open the door of the back seat and made a very respectful invitation gesture to Qin Yitian. Qin Yitian got into the back seat, and the door was closed with a bang. The old man in the black robe smiled at Tang Cheng, then turned around and got into the driver's seat. The Rolls-Royce started and drove toward the bustling Mingguang Street. Tang Cheng ran a few steps after the car and stopped helplessly. No matter how good his martial arts skills were, it was impossible for him to run faster than a four-wheeled luxury car. The autumn leaves were falling, and the cool wind was bleak, blowing Tang Cheng's hair and clothes. Standing alone in the middle of the road, Tang Cheng's eyes were sad, and he looked like a poor child who was forgotten by the world. Agreed. Tang Cheng felt that his heart was tightly clenched by something, and it was faintly painful. "Agreed to let me take you home." Pa. Zheng Guodong's body lay heavily on the expensive leather sofa in the living room of the villa, and he shouted, "Give me a glass of orange juice." The servant knew the habits of the young master, so she quickly ran to take the juice from the icebox and carefully sent it to Zheng Guodong. Zheng Guodong took the juice and took a sip. Then he called the two brothers who came back with him and stood in the living room and said, "Are you too stupid? Take whatever you want to eat and drink." "What? Are you being polite to me?" Li Yang and Chen Tao looked at each other, and quickly ran to the icebox to get Coke. Li Yang looked at Zheng Guodong and said, "Young master, you must be tired after walking for so long. How about Chen Tao and I go back first and you rest?" Chen Tao also echoed and said, "Yes, Zheng, that thing. Although it's over, Zheng still needs to take care of his body. It's better to go to your family's private hospital to have a physical examination. Don't let anything go wrong." "Are you two done yet?" Zheng Guodong squinted at Li Yang and Chen Tao and said with a thoughtful expression, "I couldn't drive you two away before. Why are you in such a hurry to go back today?" Li Yang chuckled and said, "Young master, I'm afraid I'll disturb your rest." "Yes, Zheng. You're tired, we're tired too." Zheng Guodong threw the half-finished fruit cup on the tea table in front of him and said, "Tired? What's there to be tired about? Fang Yan, that pervert. There was a cable car, but he didn't let us take it. He made us walk up and down the mountain. He's sick in the head. He must have been so poor when he was young that he couldn't bear to take out a few dozen yuan. If I had known he was so poor, I would have bought him a ticket." After a pause, he continued to scold. "Of all places to travel? Why did we have to go to Xixia Mountain? If we didn't go to that damn place, would we have encountered such a thing? We almost lost our little life. Fang Yan is really our bane." Li Yang and Chen Tao lowered their heads and drank Coke, pretending not to hear Zheng Guodong's insults and attacks on Fang Yan. "I'm bored to death." Zheng Guodong scolded a few times and felt bored. He said to his two friends Li Yang and Chen Tao, "Let's go. Play a few games with me." Zheng Guodong turned on the TV, took out the game controller, and threw it to Li Yang and Chen Tao, saying, 100 yuan per game. "Zheng." Li Yang held the controller and wanted to refuse. "Cut the crap. Start." Zheng Guodong said impatiently. Li Yang and Chen Tao had no choice but to sit on either side of Zheng Guodong. Just like before, they clustered Zheng Guodong in the middle and began to play the game. Zheng Guodong used the game controller to control the characters in the game and was invincible. Li Yang and Chen Tao were completely out of it. From time to time, they could hear their screams of death. Zheng Guodong was finally angry. He smashed the game controller on the ground and scolded, "Are you too sick in the head? Don't you know how to play the game? Do I need you to go easy on me?" Li Yang smiled and said, "Master, we are not in a good state, not in a good state." "I think it's not that you are not in a good state, but that you are disloyal." Zheng Guodong stared at Li Yang with a ferocious expression and roared, "What? Fang Yan saved you once, and now he's bribed you? Now you think that I, Zheng Guodong, am a scumbag and don't want to play with me? Li Yang, Chen Tao, don't forget that everything I do has a part in it. You are the same as me, scumbags and ruffians. Don't think that you are more noble than me." "Zheng, actually, Mr. Fang." Chen Tao still wanted to say a word for Fang Yan. TSK, you call him so affectionately. You call him Mr. Fang." Zheng Guodong interrupted Chen Tao's words. "Didn't you call him a bastard before? Why did you change it now? Did you surrender to him? Are you ready to betray me?" "Master, we didn't mean that." Li Yang's forehead was covered with sweat. He explained, "Chen Tao and I just thought that we and Mr. Fang Yan, actually don't have any deep hatred, right? And this time, he really saved us from that place. We still have to acknowledge this kindness, right? Let's put the past behind us. From now on, we will call him teacher. In fact, if we think about it carefully, he is a good person. Why do we have to go against him? What do you think, master?" Zheng Guodong sized up Li Yang and Chen Tao. He sneered. "Interesting. It's really interesting. I always thought that you two were on my side. I thought that the three of us were brothers. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. Now my brother is going to betray me and stand on my enemy's side." Zheng Guodong's voice became vicious as he said, "Li Yang, Chen Tao, since you don't treat me as a brother now, I'll tell you the truth. If you want your father to keep his current position, and if you don't want to get yourself into trouble, you'd better shut your mouths. Never say a bad word about me. If I find out, not only will you be out of luck, but I won't let your families go. Do you remember it clearly?" Li Yang and Chen Tao's faces were pale. They didn't know how to deal with Zheng Guodong's threat. Zheng Guodong waved his hand and said, "Get out of here. From today onwards, we're no longer brothers. Li Yang and Chen Tao looked at each other. They picked up the packages on the ground and left resolutely. Zheng Guodong sat on the carpet and looked at the fleeing figures of the two people through the floor-to-ceiling window. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Chapter 136. When Fang Yin returned home, Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan were having dinner. Braised pork, braised fish, braised eggplant, stir-fried water spinach with garlic. Although they were all braised, the dishes were quite sumptuous. Fang Yin was shocked. He knew that hero and warrior didn't know how to cook. Even if he tried to cook, he could only make a bowl of egg fried rice or egg instant noodles. Will junior martial uncle beat us when he comes back? Fang Haohan asked worriedly while stuffing the braised pork into his mouth. He will eat his fill before he beats us, Fang Yingying said. He won't have the strength to beat us if he's full. Fang Yin sneered and said, in order to prevent you from guessing, should I first exercise and beat you up before coming to eat? Junior martial uncle. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan quickly stood up. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, that's enough. Don't pretend. I opened the door so loudly, I don't believe you didn't hear it. Fang Yin glanced at the kitchen and asked, who cooked? Master, it's me. Zhang Chen, with an apron around his neck, stood shyly at the door of the kitchen, like a young wife who had just married into the family. It turns out to be Coach Zhang, Fang Yin said with a smile. He walked over and shook hands with Zhang Chen, saying, Coach Zhang has worked hard. These two lazy guys from Hero and Warrior are too outrageous. They even invited Coach Zhang to be their chef. It's really a waste of talent. Zhang Chen smiled bitterly. Fang Yin called him Coach Zhang instead of Zhang Chen, which meant that he was driving him out. He was still unwilling to accept her as his disciple. Zhang Chen really wanted to roar. Why do you respect me so much? Why do you respect me so much? Can't you just scold me, kick me, or slap me a few times? Do you have any sense of loyalty? What kind of broken world is this? Zhang Chen was a man who would not easily repent once he had set his goal. Otherwise, he would not have persisted on this path for so many years. With his skills, many headhunters had come to him and offered him a salary that was 10 times, or even dozens of times more than what he was earning as a teacher in a martial arts school. They invited him to be a bodyguard for some big shots, but he rejected all of them. He had a heart of martial arts. He constantly polished his body and tempered his skin and bones in order to go further and further on this road. Therefore, he would never give up so easily. Zhang Chen ran over and pulled out the chair for the main seat. He smiled at Fang Yin and said, Master, are you hungry? Sit down and eat first. I'll cook some seaweed soup and it'll be done. Coach Zhang, don't be so polite. I'll wait for you, Fang Yin said with a smile. He went to the bathroom to wash his hands, then came back and slapped the heads of the heroes and scolded. How can a guest eat before the host? Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan looked aggrieved. Fang Haohan said, it was Zhang Chen who asked us to eat first. I asked you not to eat first, Fang Yin said angrily. Although our Fang family is a family of martial arts, we must always remember the words respect, thriftiness, benevolence, and courtesy. We are martial artists. We have ideals, morals, feelings, and are very polite. We don't spit on the ground or urinate on the side of the road. If you only have skills but no quality, you will be reduced to a low-level bore. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan were too straightforward, and they rarely went out before. Fang Yin was worried that they would be cheated by others. That was why he educated them at the dinner table. Junior martial uncle is right. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan bowed their heads and accepted the lesson. Nonsense, Fang Yin said angrily. Will I say it if it's wrong? Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan looked at each other and sighed inwardly. It seemed that they couldn't help Zhang Chen and his brother. Fang Yin really didn't plan to accept apprentices at this time. The last pot of seaweed soup was served. Zhang Chen refused to sit at the table, so he was dragged up by Fang Yin. Moreover, he sat opposite to Fang Yin. Fang Yin looked at Zhang Chen and said with a smile, Coach Zhang, we are friends of the same generation. Don't be so polite. Come over often in the future when you have time. Let's have a few drinks. I heard that Coach Zhang has a big appetite. Master, Zhang Chen tried hard to maintain a smile on his face and said, I will come over to cook for you and my senior brothers every day in the future. That won't do. Fang Yan hurriedly stopped him. Coach Zhang is the gold medal coach of Glory Martial Arts School. He is a famous figure in Huaqing's martial arts world. How can I let you come over to cook for us every day? I can't take it. Just come once every 2 or 3 days. Let's drink happily and have a good time. Fang Yan thought that it wasn't a good idea to let Zhang Chen cook every day. They owed him too much. It wasn't appropriate to always bring heroes to eat in the cafeteria. To be honest, the food in the school cafeteria really wasn't to their liking. If Zhang Chen could come over every 2 or 3 days to improve their lives, Fang Yan could still accept this result. Then I will come once every 2 or 3 days, Zhang Chen said happily. Master, let me toast you. Coach Zhang, let's have a toast. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan buried their heads in the food. They felt that the situation in front of them was too complicated, and their intelligence was obviously not enough to handle it. The banquet was lively and festive, especially for the female guests. There were all kinds of strange news and gossip. After the aunties and aunties finished discussing which world-class brand's new products were the best to see, which celebrity had undergone plastic surgery to become the boss's mistress, and which person had bought a mansion in Europe, they finally turned their attention to Lu Xiaoga, who had been sitting there the whole night without saying a word except for greeting everyone. Xiaoga, which school are you still working as the vice principal of? I don't want to criticize you, but what's so good about being a vice principal? How much salary can they pay you every month? It's not even enough for me to buy a scarf from Hermes. You don't understand, do you? It's because of her hobby. Can hobbies have anything to do with money? Plus, doesn't Xiaoga have Zhulu to rely on? She won't have to worry about money with Jiang Zhulu around. That's right. Xiaoga, tell me, when are you and Zhulu getting married? I'm still waiting to attend your wedding. The woman then turned to Ren Jin, Jiang Zhulio's mother, who was sitting next to Lu Xiaoga. Ren Jin, as their mother, shouldn't you tell them to hurry up? Ren Jin swirled the wine in her glass gracefully and took a sip. Only then did she reply, I can't rush the kids. But don't worry, I won't keep you waiting for too long. Zhulu and Xiaoga grew up together, and they're very close. I'm Xiaoga's mother now and I'll always be her mother. That's right. I think it's a done deal too. She can't run away. Another lady chimed in. Lu Xiaoga and Jiang Zhulu are a match made in heaven. This is something that everyone in our flower city knows. Xiaoga, don't say I didn't warn you. You have to hold on to a man like Jiang Zhulu. There are so many pretty girls out there, and they're all shameless. Don't let them steal him away. It'll be too late for regrets. Lu Xiaoga's mouth was dry and her body felt like it was on fire. She wanted to throw up, but she had to nod and smile stiffly at these relatives in front of her. These aunties whom she barely had any contact with. Dealing with fake relationships like this was exhausting, even more so than working overtime for a week. Just then, a handsome man walked up to Lu Xiaoga. Resting his hands on the back of the chair Lu Xiaoga was sitting in, he bent down and whispered in Lu Xiaoga's ear. Are you feeling unwell? A little, Lu Xiaoga whispered. Jiang Zhulu, the male protagonist these aunties and aunties were talking about, appeared. Give me 30 seconds, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. Looking up at the ladies, he smiled as gently as a spring breeze and said, Ladies, I know you're all in the mood, but I have to interrupt. Xiaoga's stomach felt a little unwell when she left home today, and I'd like to take her back to rest. How can we say no to that? Zhulu is such a considerate man. Xiaoga is so happy. Go ahead. Time is precious for young people, unlike old people like us. Although Lu Xiaoga didn't like Jiang Zhulio's public display of affection, she couldn't wait to get out of this place and breathe some fresh air. I'm sorry. I'm going back. Lu Xiaoga got up and apologized to everyone. As the black Bentley sped along the road, Jiang Zhulu looked at Lu Xiaoga, who was sitting in the passenger seat, and said with a smile, Xiaoga, it's still early. Do you want to have a drink somewhere? Lu Xiaoga refused. I'm tired. I want to rest. Fine. I'll drive you back, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. He wasn't upset at Lu Chaoga's refusal. Lu Chaoga nodded and looked out the window at the night view of Huaqing. Nights in Huaqing were charming, but she was rarely in the mood to enjoy them. Just then, a familiar building appeared in front of her. "Stop the car at the school gate," Lu Chaoga said all of a sudden. "Chaoga, aren't you tired?" Jiang Zhulu asked in bewilderment. "I suddenly feel like taking a walk at school," Lu Chaoga said. Screech! The luxury car stopped at the gate of Rosefinch Secondary, and Lu Chaoga unbuckled her seatbelt to get out. "Chaoga," Jiang Zhulu hesitated. "Do you want me to go for a walk with you?" Lu Chaoga stopped and thought for a moment, then said, "Next time." The muscles on Jiang Zhulu's face twitched and he said with a smile, "Next time then." He knew that when a woman said next time, she meant it. Chapter 137. We are always attracted by towering buildings and world-famous logos. But have we ever noticed that the small life is equally moving? The autumn wind caressed her face, and the moon and stars filled the sky. Mellow, sweet, intermittent, and indistinct. You don't have to deliberately breathe, and don't be distracted to look for it. Inadvertently, it will fill your nose and mouth, and fill your internal organs. The fragrance of osmanthus fills the garden in October. Lu Chaoga stood in the osmanthus forest and sighed softly. She was too busy with work, and had too many things on her mind. She hadn't come here for a long time. She raised her face and closed her eyes, carefully enjoying the beautiful scenery and the intoxicating fragrance. Her heart was full of regret. If the camera could capture this quietly blooming fragrance, she would definitely find a way to save it. Lu Chaoga walked aimlessly along the osmanthus forest. She didn't think about anything, and there was no one to talk to. She had already turned off her cell phone. She was too bored. She just wanted to go out for a walk. If you even think that breathing is a luxury, then you have to reflect on your life. Lu Chaoga felt that she should reflect on herself. How long would this road go on? How long would this kind of life go on? Most importantly, would she be able to persevere? Because the boring dinner party ended early, it was still early. Some students who slept late were swimming along the banks of the Sparrow River. There were students playing basketball on the basketball court. On the Sparrow Bridge, a handsome boy holding a guitar was singing, "That's the person I miss day and night. How should I express to her that she will accept me?" Most of the time, Lu Chaoga sat on the rostrum of the conference. It was rare for her to listen to their songs as an ordinary audience member, and to hear them express their lives and feelings like she did today. She stood in the shadow of the forest, where it was not easy to be discovered, and listened to one young song after another. It wasn't until a boy singing an English song broke his voice that she smiled and turned to leave. Unknowingly, she walked to the small courtyard assigned to her by the school. She stood at the entrance of the courtyard, hesitated, and decided not to enter. She didn't want to go in and ruin other people's lives. Just as he was about to leave, he heard a moving sound coming from inside. Lu Chaoga frowned slightly. When she gave the house to Fang Yan, she had made a promise with him, one of which was that he was not allowed to bring in random people to disturb the neighbor's rest. Now that he heard the movements inside, it was clear that Fang Yan had violated the rules. Lu Chaoga pushed open the wooden door and saw two men punching and kicking each other in the yard. They looked extremely fierce and dangerous. "Stop!" Lu Chaoga shouted. Fang Yingying and Zhang Chen, who were fighting, immediately jumped back and looked at Lu Chaoga in surprise. Fang Yin and Fang Haohan were watching and cheering. Seeing Lu Chaoga suddenly appear, he jogged to Lu Chaoga and said with a smile, "Principal Lu, why are you here so late at night?" Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yin and asked in an unfriendly tone, "Fang Yin, what are you guys doing?" "Meeting friends through martial arts," Fang Yin said innocently. He pointed at Zhang Chen and said, "Principal Lu, let me introduce you. This is Brilliant Martial Arts School's gold medal coach Zhang Chen. He is a famous kickboxing expert in Huaqing." Lu Chaoga just wanted to calm down, but her eyes inadvertently saw a flower pot that had been kicked to pieces at the edge of the yard. She suddenly got angry and said coldly, "I don't care if he is an expert or an amateur. I just want to know what you guys are doing right now. Look at the time. What if you guys disturb others' rest by fighting like this? When I let you live in the house, what did I say to you? First, help me take care of the flowers and plants in the house. If a pot dies or withered, I will find you to settle accounts. Now that the flower pot has been kicked to pieces by you guys, what if the flowers die? Second, the house has to be cleaned seriously. Have you cleaned seriously? Look at the leaves in the yard. Look at the watermelon skin in the corner. Is this how you fulfill your responsibility? Also, I said that you are not allowed to bring outsiders, and so as not to disturb the neighbor's rest. Have you done that? Fang Yan, I trust you so much. Is this how you treat my trust? Originally, Lu Chaoga had been suppressing her anger that night. After walking around the school for a while, her anger had mostly dissipated. She didn't expect her anger to increase exponentially when she saw Fang Yan. When the iceberg beauty flipped out, it looked quite scary. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan didn't understand the relationship between this woman and junior martial uncle, so they didn't dare to speak rashly. Zhang Chun was the culprit who kicked the flower pot. He wanted to apologize and put the blame on himself. But Lu Chaoga's firepower was too strong. He couldn't find a chance to speak at all. Finished. Fang Yin looked at Lu Chaoga with a smile and asked, "Do you feel better?" Fang Yin continued to ask. Fang Yin reached out and grabbed Lu Chaoga's arm and said, "Your heart is full of depression. It's hard to release the anger. The cold last time was already a symptom. If you don't release it in time, it may become more serious. Let's go. I will help you release the anger." "Let go," Lu Chaoga said angrily. "Don't move. I am helping you treat the disease," Fang Yin said seriously. Fang Yin dragged Lu Chaoga out of the courtyard, leaving the three stunned friends. "Can this work?" Fang Haohan asked with his eyes wide open. "Holding hands can also cure the disease?" Zhang Chun was shocked. "I don't know if it can cure the woman, but it can definitely cure junior martial uncle's disease." Fang Yingying said, "What disease is junior martial uncle suffering from?" "Hypersexuality syndrome, that is very infatuated with people or beautiful plants and scenery." "What disease is this?" "Infatuated." Fang Yin, stop. Lu Chaoga whispered. They were now walking in the teacher's living area. Although at this time, the teachers were at home marking homework or watching TV or movies. But who knows if someone was walking and happened to bump into them? She was being held by Fang Yin. How could it be? What would other people think and guess if they saw it? "Do you feel your heart beating faster?" Fang Yin, let go of my hand. "Do you feel the temperature of your palms rising and the sweat increasing?" Fang Yin, what are you doing? "Your face is turning red. And the skin on your neck is also turning red. Of course you can't see this. I can tell you." Fang Yin, "Actually, I am the same as you now." Fang Yin said, "I become like this when I hold your hand. Do you think I am infected by you?" They didn't cross the small gate and walk towards the students' living area because there were too many students there. The school's young vice principal and an unmarried male teacher were walking on the road together. They were afraid that in a few minutes, their scandal would spread all over Rosefinch High School. Fang Yin finally let go of Lu Chaoga's hand, and the two of them walked leisurely along the Bird River. The sky was bright, and the river was rippling. Birds were chirping, and from time to time, fish would swim to the surface of the water. Rosefinch at night was comfortable and peaceful, very suitable for couples to stroll. "Not in a good mood?" Fang Yin asked with a smile. "What do you know?" Lu Chaoga wasn't a person who liked to show her emotions, so she replied coldly. "Of course, what happened just now was an exception. Everyone in this society has to bear pressure. Some people bear more, and some people bear less. Some people are more resistant to pressure, and some people are less resistant. I belong to the category of people who can't withstand pressure. So when I am annoyed or have a problem that I can't solve, I like to find someone to beat up. The fatso you saw just now, and the skinny guy next to fatso are the people that I often beat up. Oh, they are the people that I asked you to help me find a job. Of course, I don't mean to ask you to help me find a job at this time. I know you're not in a good mood, so let's not talk about such annoying things." Fang Yin turned and looked at Lu Chaoga with a burning gaze, saying, "I'm a genius. Since I was young, they all thought that I was a genius. I think so too." I'm the man with the best perception in the Fong family. I'm the man who improves the fastest in the Fong family. I'm the martial artist with the most potential in the entire circle. I felt the heart of Tai Chi earlier than anyone else. If I continue to develop like this, I will definitely become the most dazzling star. I will become a grandmaster, a figure that the entire history of martial arts will not be able to ignore. But I met a woman. I met a woman who is more outstanding than me, more talented than me, and more barbaric than me. She knocked me down again and again. She stepped on me again and again. She bullied me and insulted me again and again. She knocked away my self-esteem and pride. She hurt my confidence and pride. For a long time, I was in a very anxious and violent emotional state. I was always thinking about how I could knock her down, how I could take revenge on her, how I could conquer her, and how I could return the humiliation that she inflicted on me back one by one, 10 times, 100 times. What are you trying to say? Lu Chaoga crossed her arms in front of her chest and raised her eyebrows. If he wanted to comfort himself with his failure, this story was too simple and unconvincing, wasn't it? What I want to say is, those who bully my women will not have a good ending. Fang Yan said with a dark expression. So, don't run in front of me and yell at me for no reason. If you make me hold a grudge, I might think of a way to take revenge on you. Chapter 138. In the process of confrontation between men and women, it was always the woman who kept talking about revenge, and the man who pretended to be innocent. It was the first time that Lu Chaoga saw such a man shouting about revenge in front of a woman. She was amused by Fang Yan's straightforward threat. She wrapped her arms around her full breasts and stared at Fang Yan playfully. She asked, "What kind of revenge?" Fang Yan raised his head and thought for a moment. He said angrily, "Don't ask such an idiotic question. Do I have to tell you in advance how I'm going to retaliate? What if you're prepared?" Lu Chaoga had always thought that Fang Yan was a chatterbox, but this chatterbox was different from others. Other chatterboxes could easily arouse the desire of the audience around them to express themselves, and then they would talk in full swing. But the most amazing thing about Fang Yan was that he could fight with his words alone, and when he finished what he wanted to express, you would find that you didn't know how to continue. Such a person had a not very positive title at the party, the topic Terminator. Lu Chaoga lifted her feet and continued to walk forward. Fang Yan also hurried to her side and said with a smile, "Are you in a better mood now?" Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan sideways, and her heart was slightly warm. She knew that Fang Yan deliberately used such a self-deprecating method to relax her nerves. In order to please a woman, this guy was willing to spend a lot of money. "Thank you," Lu Chaoga said. The depression that had accumulated in her heart for many years was completely stimulated by those gossips at the party. After such event, she really felt a lot more relaxed. This time, she could go into battle lightly again. The great hatred had not been avenged, and the war would not stop. "If you don't mind, can you tell me what happened?" Fang Yan said with a smile. "You're too nervous. Perhaps you haven't noticed it, but whenever I see you, your nerves are always tense, and your eyes and body are always in a state of vigilance. For such an outstanding and confident woman like you, what are you afraid of? I know why you like to arrange flowers. Only at that time can you relax a little and let your tired body get a moment of rest, right? I saw your handwritten banner in your office. You wrote the word meditation. There's a problem with these two words." Lu Chaoga's expression changed slightly. She had always thought that her disguise was very comprehensive, but she did not expect that Fang Yan's eyes were full of flaws. "There's nothing wrong with those two words." Fang Yan shook his head with a smile. "It's because this word is too normal. That's why there's a problem. How much pressure are you under? How irascible are you that you have to write these two words to constantly remind yourself to calm down? My heart is restless, so I need to meditate. If my heart is calm, why would I need to write these two words to reflect on myself? Have you studied psychology?" Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan with vigilance in her eyes. This man was too scary, and it deepened her understanding of Fang Yan. "Look, you're doing this again." Fang Yan smiled bitterly. I haven't studied psychology, but I learned Tai Chi. Tai Chi. The best state of Tai Chi is when there is nothing and no me. After there is nothing and no me, the perception of the surrounding environment is more subtle and profound. I can feel who is good to me, who is bad to me, who is guarded against me, and who is sincere to me. It's equivalent to psychology. Psychology is to spy on people's inner world from their language and behavior. It's the same with Tai Chi. People have a way to express their happiness, anger, sorrow, and happiness. A strange sentence, an unintentional look. As long as you collect these emotions, you can get the answer you want. Do you study this every day? The way Lu Chaoge looked at Fang Yin became even more strange. No. Fang Yin waved his hand with a smile. It's too tiring to study and think about these things every day, to figure out who is unfriendly to me, and who wants to bully me. Moreover, Tai Chi is about letting nature take its course. Nature is the biggest principle. I won't stay if he leaves, but I'm not afraid if he comes. That is our principle of doing things. After thinking about it, Fang Yin felt that he should find a way to dispel Lu Chaoge's wariness toward him. After all, she was the only female leader in Rosefinch High School who was willing to protect him. Therefore, Fang Yin said, "Actually, every boy who studies Tai Chi is an angel who fell from the sky. They came to the human world with broken wings to protect a girl. Angels with broken wings can never return to heaven. Therefore, they can only practice Tai Chi for the rest of their lives and be losers. They are simple and kind, and they stand aloof from worldly affairs. If you meet them, you must cherish them." The topic Terminator ended the topic once again. "I think I still need to explain to you," Fang Yin said. "I remember our agreement, and I'm also very grateful for the help you gave me when I was in the most difficult time. I promised you that I would take care of the flowers and plants in the house and yard, and I did that. The first thing I did when I got up in the morning was to water them and weed them. Every night before I went to bed, I would trim their branches and leaves. I would take them outside to absorb the sunlight. I was afraid that they would be blown down by the sudden storm and wind, so I was very careful. Today was an exception, because there was a guest. He accidentally kicked the butterfly orchid when he was fighting with someone. I should have reminded him again before the competition. This was indeed my mistake. I apologize to you. I also promised you that I would clean the house, but as you know, I brought the students in the class to Xixia Mountain for a trip these 2 days. Only my 2 Marshall nephews lived in the house. For them, as long as their pants are zipped up, it means that they are neatly dressed. I apologize to you, and I promise you that as long as I am in the house, there will be no more garbage piling up. And there is the condition of taking in strangers. To be honest, this is very difficult for me to do, because some people are very strange to you, but they are very familiar to me. They are my friends. They are my family. They came all the way to find me, and I can't turn them away. Nowadays, the pressure of employment is increasing, and it is getting harder for migrant workers to find jobs. My 2 little Marshall nephews don't have any skills, and they are still unemployed at home. They don't have a single cent of income every month. I can't let them sleep on the streets, and I can't let them suffer from hunger and cold. I can't turn a blind eye to their difficulties. So, I can only let them live with me. I know that this is against the rules, and I didn't fully fulfill our original agreement. But I believe that you will be able to understand and accept it. Are you willing to accept them? Fang Yin asked. Don't rush to answer. You don't have to force your heart for my sake. If you don't agree, I will immediately drive them out and let them sleep under the bridge. Fang Yin continued. After all, that house is yours. You have 100% right to decide. Lu Chaoge wanted to hit someone. She really wanted to beat the man in front of her. You have already said it like this, and I still strongly ask you to drive them out. What kind of person am I? Since they are living in. Lu Chaoge gritted her teeth and said, then they will live there first. But, I repeat again, you must be obedient. I don't want to be complained because you are too noisy and disturb the rest of the neighbors. I know you will agree, Fang Yin said happily, because you are a kind person like me. Don't deny it, I can see it from your eyes. Lu Chaoge really wanted to ask him, did you see from my eyes that I wanted to beat you up? I am not in a very good mood tonight. Lu Chaoga apologized to Fang Yin euphemistically. So my attitude was too intense at the time, and it may have shocked your friends. Apologize to them for me. It's okay. A great man once said that when a beauty loses her temper, God will forgive her. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, "This matter was not a problem at all. There are some things that I can't tell you, and I don't know how to tell you." Lu Chaoga stopped and looked at the bright moon in the sky. She said, "Maybe like you said, saying it will make me feel more relaxed, and feel that there will be another person to bear it for me. But in that case, if it brings unnecessary trouble to the other party, then I can only continue to keep it a secret. Some pressure is one person's pressure, and some wars are also one person's war. It has nothing to do with you." Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan's delicate face and said, "But I still want to thank you for your company. Why are you so polite?" Fang Yan laughed. Usually, Lu Chaoga liked to keep a straight face. She suddenly became so gentle and considerate and apologized to him. Fang Yan was really not used to it. "This is what I should do. It is my honor to serve the leader. Is that so?" Lu Chaoga looked at the corner of the courtyard not far away. "I suddenly feel a little tired." Tired? Fang Yan's brain still couldn't react. "If you are tired, go back and rest." Look, this answer is so loser style. Just as he was thinking about why Lu Chaoga was tired, Lu Chaoga suddenly walked over and put her hand around Fang Yan's neck. She gently put her head on Fang Yan's shoulder like those intimate lovers. It was so relaxed and casual, as if they had rehearsed this action thousands of times. Chapter 139. Although he couldn't see the faces of the two people hugging each other on the phone screen, due to the lighting, Jiang Zhulu knew that one of them was Lu Chaoga, who he had just separated from. He could distinguish her figure, he could recognize her subtle movements, he could smell the familiar scent on her body. There was no doubt that she was the Lu Chaoga that he couldn't forget about. A woman rejected your protection and companionship in order to rush over and hug another wild man affectionately. This was really ironic. The smile on Jiang Zhulio's face grew wider, and the muscles on his face tightened. He stared at the frozen photo on the phone like he was admiring a profound ink painting. He asked, "When did she leave?" "Eldest young master. I followed her until she and Fang Yin separated before I drove over here," Zheng Jing carefully reported. Although Jiang Zhulio's gaze wasn't on him, although Jiang Zhulu was still looking at his phone screen, he could still feel the sharpness in his eyes and the uncontrollable hostility in his body. Slap! Jiang Zhulu did a 90-degree turn and slapped Zheng Jing across the face. This action was too ferocious, too fast, and too difficult. While Zheng Jing was shocked at how Jiang Zhulu was able to execute this action so quickly and well, he didn't feel the pain on his face. "I asked you what time it was, and you just told me what time it was? Accurate down to the minute, accurate down to the second." Jiang Zhulu roared. Shameful. This was a huge humiliation. He was one of the 4 prodigies of Huacheng, one of the most powerful and charming young masters in Jiang City. He was the lover of the masses. As long as he appeared, countless socialites and noble ladies would flock to him and boldly recommend themselves to sleep with him. But was this how Lu Chaoga treated him? Knowing that she didn't like to socialize, he walked over to protect her and rescued her. He wanted to take her to the bar for a drink, but she said she was tired and wanted to take a walk at school. He offered to accompany her for a walk, but she said next time and rejected his good intentions. Beitai. Jiang Zhulu felt that these 2 shining words must have been engraved on his forehead. That was because he felt that what he had encountered was 90% similar to the characteristics of the spare tires on the internet. The difference was that those spare tires acted out the story of a loser losing to a tall, rich, and handsome man, while he was a tall, rich, and handsome man losing to a poor loser. Thinking of this, Jiang Zhulu did not rejoice at all. Instead, he felt even more sorrowful. Is it because women don't love money, or because I'm too much of a failure? He began to think about this incomparably tangled and painful question. "Young Master Jiang." "She left at around 10:35 p.m., Zheng Jing quickly answered. Jiang Zhulu thought about it. When he sent her in, it was 9:15. In other words, the two of them had been alone together for more than an hour. Anything could be done in just over an hour. Kacha, a crisp sound was heard. Zheng Jing covered his face out of habit. When he realized that the sound wasn't from Jiang Zhulu slapping him, but from his phone being smashed against the wall by Jiang Zhulu, he inexplicably felt gratified and grateful to Jiang Zhulu. Young Master Jiang is still very benevolent. Zheng Jing secretly put down his hand that was covering his face, and thought in his heart. Jiang Zhulu stood up and paced back and forth in the luxuriously decorated villa's living room. Fang Yan. Jiang Zhulu sneered. How dare he snatch my woman away from me? He's courting death by eating arsenic. Young Master Jiang, just tell me what you need. Zheng Jing will do anything for you. Zheng Jing quickly stood up to express his loyalty. Then go kill Fang Yan. Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. Zheng Jing's expression froze as he looked at Jiang Zhulu in horror. Jiang Zhulu laughed and patted Zheng Jing's shoulder. I'm just kidding. We are law-abiding people. How could we do such an illegal thing? Yes, that's right. Zheng Jing felt his forehead covered in sweat again. Zheng is a smart person. He definitely wouldn't do such a stupid thing. The smile on Jiang Zhulu's face instantly disappeared as he said in a cold voice. What? Is it stupid to want him to disappear? Not really. I mean, Zheng Jing was about to cry. I'm stupid. Don't play with me like this, okay? Jiang Zhulu sighed softly and said. If he suddenly gets into a car accident, I'll be very happy. Jiang Zhulu waved his hand and said, Go. Just do your job. Don't let her know that you came. Yes. Zheng Jing bowed and agreed. Of course, with her intelligence, I'm afraid she already knows. If she asks, you don't have to hide it. You're the spy I placed beside her. How could she not know anything? Yes. Zheng Jing nodded again. Jiang Zhulu waved his hand in annoyance, and Zheng Jing jogged away. The old butler, who had been standing in the corner, and almost ignored, walked over with a tray in his hand. Jiang Zhulu took a clean towel from the tray and wiped his hands. He had slapped Zheng Jing earlier, so his hands were already dirty. As far as I know, Chaoga shouldn't be so close to that man, right? Jiang Zhulu asked with a smile. Maybe she saw someone secretly taking pictures, so she purposely did it, the old butler said softly. Still so naughty. Jiang Zhulu shook his head helplessly. But she's still so full of character. Uncle Lu, this kind of woman is flesh and blood. She's 100 times better than those vulgar women outside. Isn't that right? The old butler paused and said, A woman willing to put her head on a man's shoulder, even if she's acting, that's still quite dangerous. Jiang Zhulu couldn't laugh anymore and said, Looks like we have to hurry up with our plan. I'll supervise, the old butler said. But, young master, I don't think you should waste too much time on a woman. Is that so? Jiang Zhulu's lips curled into a mocking smile. It's about love and dignity. How can you just define her as a woman? She's the woman I like. The old butler didn't try to persuade him anymore, and silently retreated with the tray. Taekwondo dojo. The students of the 9th class looked around, and felt that it was extremely novel and fun. Some students were Taekwondo enthusiasts and frequent visitors of the dojo, so they were used to the layout and design inside. However, some students, especially many female students, came to the Taekwondo dojo for the first time. Naturally, they had a novel idea of prying into everything inside. It's so strange. Why did Mr. Fong ask us to gather here? Are we going to learn a new text today? Which text do you think we're going to learn today? Who wants to bet with me? Huang Haoran, why hasn't Mr. Fong come yet? Is it possible that he hasn't woken up yet? Hurry up and call him. We're all anxious, waiting for him to come and reveal the mystery. In the past, the students would expect the teacher to come a little late, or the teacher couldn't come because he was not feeling well or had something to do at home. If a teacher suddenly asked for leave because of diarrhea and let the students study by themselves, the students would be so excited that they wanted to tear down the table. However, after Fang Yin came, this habit suddenly changed. If the teacher didn't come, the students would be anxious. If the teacher came late, the students would be even more anxious. If the teacher didn't come, they would tear down the table. Every language class was a journey of knowledge, and a journey of the soul for them. Attending a Chinese class was equivalent to going on a trip to a beautiful place. Until now, they were excited when they thought of farewell to Cambridge again, and Rainy Alley. When they heard students from other classes or other schools talking about it, they would raise their necks proudly and say in a calm voice, as if it was nothing in their eyes. They would say, "Humph, you're talking about our class." They really looked forward to Fang Yan, bringing them more surprises. They were looking forward to Fang Yan creating more miracles for them every day. After all, Fang Yan was their most respected and favorite legendary teacher in their hearts. Of course, they didn't know if they would still think, so after understanding the many stains in Fang Yan's life, because he had gained Fang Yan's full trust, Huang Haoran's status as the representative of the Chinese class also rose with the tide. If there was anything that needed to be communicated with Fang Yan, he would be the one to report to Fang Yan. Huang Haoran took out his mobile phone and was about to make a call when he heard Fang Yan say behind him, "Don't waste the phone, Bill. I'm already here." "Mr. Fang," the students of Class 9 shouted in surprise. Fang Yan looked at the students' expectant eyes and knew that the effect he wanted had been achieved. The consecutive surprises had made them curious and look forward to every Chinese class. With curiosity and expectation, was there a need to worry that they wouldn't be able to learn Chinese well? Fang Yan glanced around and asked with a smile, "Is everyone here?" Zheng Guodong asked for sick leave, Huang Haoran said. "Yes, I got it," Fang Yan said. "Then let's start the class." "Mr. Fang, why did you ask us to come to the Taekwondo club? Are you going to teach us martial arts? Is it Tai Chi?" "It must be Tai Chi." Mr. Fang's posture of Tai Chi on Xixia Mountain was so cool. "I even took a picture." "That's right. If we learned a few moves and ran to a place with a lot of girls, how many girls would like it?" "We'll learn banquet at Hongmen today," Fang Yan said with a smile. Chapter 140. I want to play Lu Bang. I want to play Xiang Yu. Xiang Yu is a great hero. Zheng Dong, you idiot. Don't play Xiang Yu. Xiang Yu wants to commit suicide. After hearing Fang Yan say that today's lesson was banquet at Hongmen, the students' interest soared. This was especially so for the boys, who didn't have a heroic dream of leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls, who didn't want to be an invincible general on the battlefield. Fang Yan waved his hand, signaling for everyone to quiet down. After waiting for everyone to fall silent, he said, "Previously, I let everyone preview this text. Now everyone should have some understanding of the background story of Banquet at Hongmen, right? We'll use the same method we used before to teach the lesson. There are a few important characters in this lesson that need to be played by students. The first one is Xiang Yu, who will play this role." "Tangcheng," a girl jumped out and said. It seemed that she was a hardcore supporter of Rosefinch. "Why Tangcheng?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "Because Tangcheng is handsome. Xiang Yu is also handsome," the girl said without hiding it. If it were another teacher, they would never say something like this. However, because Fang Yan was Fang Yan, and because Fang Yan could understand and tolerate them easily, they were so frank and direct. Fang Yan nodded with a smile and said, "Okay. Then Tangcheng will play the role of Xiang Yu, the first teacher of Class 9. The other students will also have a chance." "Mr. Fang, can I play Lu Bang?" Li Yang asked carefully. Zheng Guodong asked for leave, but his two hardcore supporters, Chun Tao and Li Yang, came to class early in the morning. If nothing happened between the three of them, Fang Yan would not believe it. He looked at Li Yang and asked, "Does everyone agree?" No one said anything. Disgust prevented them from saying yes, and fear prevented them from saying no. Li Yang's face turned red. He looked at the students of Class 9 and said, "I know everyone doesn't like me. I also know. I know that we have indeed done a lot of things to make everyone hate us. I will correct it. I will definitely correct it. Please supervise me. I want to play the role of Lu Bang. I will definitely do my best. Please believe in me and support me." After Li Yang finished speaking, he bowed deeply to the audience. This apology was very sincere. Pa. The students were easily moved. After Li Yang stood up, they gave him a warm round of applause. Fang Yin nodded with a smile and said, "It seems that everyone agrees that Li Yang will play the role of Lu Bang?" Fang Yin was very pleased. A prodigal who repents is more valuable than gold. To be able to turn a bad student into a good person. This is the wish of every teacher. He knew that another student had fallen for his black trousers. Agreed. The students shouted in unison. Fang Yin smiled, and then asked for everyone's opinion. He chose Zhang Liang, Fan Kuai Fanzeng, and several other main roles. "Teacher, what about Yuji?" a boy shouted excitedly. "Yuji has no part in Banquet at Hongmen," Fang Yin said. "Teacher, why don't you choose one? It's not tiring to act with a man and a woman," the boys insisted. Even Tongqing's eyes lit up. He said, "Teacher, you'd better choose one. She's still needed for the later scenes." Fang Yin thought for a moment and shouted, "Qin Yitian." Standing behind the crowd, Qin Yitian said calmly, "I won't play Yuji." Tongqing's face suddenly turned red, and his expression was gloomy and disappointed. Qin Yitian's answer was as if he had refused him on the spot. "Why not play Yuji?" Fang Yin asked. After thinking for a moment, he quickly said, "Forget it. Just pretend I didn't ask, and you don't have to answer." Fang Yin felt that he was too smart. He didn't expect that Qin Yitian was not a girl who liked to play cards according to common sense. She didn't want to let him get what he wanted at all. Qin Yitian pursed her lips and smiled. "Because you're not Xiangyu." The students of the 9th class cheered, and Tangqing felt as if someone had stabbed him in the chest. It was dripping with blood. Fang Yin frowned and said with a serious expression, "Student Qin Yitian, it's class time now. Don't joke around." Without waiting for Qin Yitian to refute, he scolded the other students and said, "Don't make trouble. If the teaching office hears this, our class will be deducted again. The scandal must be strangled in the cradle." Fang Yin felt that it was time for him to have a good talk with Qin Yitian. "Okay, let's start the class now," Fang Yin said aloud. At this moment, there was a noisy sound of footsteps outside. Then, a large number of students in Rosefinch secondary uniforms rushed over. It's Class 1. What are the people from Class 1 doing here? Look at the books in their hands, they're also here for class. I see Zhang Yu. They're also in Chinese class. Why do I feel that they're not friendly?" Fang Yin also saw Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu was the Chinese teacher of Class 1. As a teacher of the top class of Rosefinch High School, a private school, Zhang Yu was quite proud. He graduated from a famous school and was the first batch of specially hired teachers of Rosefinch Secondary. He used to lead a class that dominated the whole school with excellent results for 3 consecutive years. There were countless students who were admitted to famous universities. Therefore, he was transferred to the top class of the whole school as a Chinese teacher. In response to the school's slogan, "The genes of a famous school should be grasped from the basics." Since he became the Chinese teacher of Class 1, the Chinese results of Class 1 had always been ranked first in the school's overall and average scores, far ahead of the second place. Class 1 was the top class and also the devil's class. There had never been a class that could challenge the authority of Class 1. It was also because of this that Zhang Yu had always been the treasure of the school. He was a capable teacher in the eyes of the leaders, and a high-scoring machine in the eyes of the students. However, since Fang Yin came, his limelight was completely overshadowed. Even Class 1's limelight had been snatched away by Class 9. Take the incident of receiving the Wu Ren delegation as an example. Class 1 was responsible for receiving the guests. This was a tradition and habit of Rosefinch High School for many years, but this year the rules were changed because of the arrival of Fang Yin. Before, they fiercely opposed it, because they had the mentality of watching a good show. When you're embarrassed, invite us to clean up the mess. At that time, the school leaders would understand who the real elites were. Unexpectedly, the students of Class 9 not only successfully completed the task of receiving the guests, but also achieved an unexpectedly good result. In the words of Headmaster Lu Chaoga, it was the best in history. The best in history? These words were simply a slap in the face. They had been doing it for so many years, but they were overthrown and defeated in one day. If someone could achieve a best in history in 1 year, then what had their Class 1 done for so many years? Zhang Yu was jealous of the culprit, Fang Yan, and even the students of Class 9 were not pleasing to the eye. All along, he had been looking for an opportunity to beat Fang Yan's arrogance. Yes, in his heart, Fang Yan was indeed the typical representative of arrogance, disrespect for elders, lawlessness, greed, lust, and not bathing all year round. When he heard that Fang Yan asked the students of Class 9 to gather at the Taekwondo dojo today, he immediately rushed over with the students of Class 1. Whether it was a mule or a horse, it was a competition. He wanted to knock down Fang Yan face to face, so that he would not always use those non-mainstream things to attract attention and achieve the purpose of self-promotion. He had confidence in Class 1, and Class 1 would never lose to anyone. Zhang Yu was in his 30s, and he could become the backbone of the teaching team, which could be regarded as a young and promising person. He wore gold-rimmed glasses, had short yellow hair, and gave off a strong sense of scholarly aura. Fang Yan knew Zhang Yu. Seeing him coming in behind the students of Class 1, he smiled and asked, "Miss Zhang, you also have class today?" Zhang Yu glanced at Fang Yan and said with a blank expression, "If I don't have class, will I run around with the students? I'm not as daring as some people, who do whatever they want." "Haha, I guess the person Miss Zhang is talking about must be me, right?" Fang Yan said without modesty. "Whoever says it will understand." Zhang Yu also smiled, but it was a sneer. He really didn't hide his disgust for Fang Yan. Fang Yan pointed at the students of Class 1 and asked, "Miss Zhang also has class here?" "Yes," Zhang Yu said with absolute certainty. "You also learned banquet at Hongmen." "I happened to learn this article," Zhang Yu said. He pretended to be surprised and looked at Fang Yan and asked, "Mr. Fang, are you also going to take the students to learn this article?" "Yes, we are going to learn this article," Fang Yan said. "Then we really came at the right time," Zhang Yu said. "It's really a coincidence," Fang Yan said. "Miss Zhang came at the right time. It's really great." "It's great?" Zhang Yu was puzzled. What is this guy talking about? Doesn't he know why I came here? "Miss Zhang, if you didn't come, I was still worried about how to teach this banquet at Hongmen well, so that everyone will have a deeper understanding of these 3 words. Now this problem is solved." Fang Yan grinned and said to the students of Class 9 loudly, "Students, everyone should feel it. This is the real banquet at Hongmen." Time passes. The heroes and artifacts in the book are too far away from us. But as long as we have a pair of eyes that are good at discovering, and a mind that is good at thinking, we will know that the truth has always been in front of us. What does he think he is? As a tool to understand the text? As the culprit to restore the scene of the banquet at Hongmen? After listening to Fang Yan's words, Zhang Yu almost vomited a liter of blood and fainted. Chapter 141. A philosopher once said, "What lessons can we learn from history?" The only lesson we can learn from history is that we can't learn any lesson from history. Fang Yan used this as a pretext to continue educating his students. Why did Xiang Yu commit suicide at the Wu River? How could a man like Liu Bang defeat the overlord and seize the world? The banquet at Hongmen was a key turning point. Let's think about it. If Xiang Yu had chosen to kill Liu Bang instead of being merciful, would fate have been reversed? Would history have been rewritten? Would the people standing here today still be the people standing here today? Fang Yan looked at Zhang Yu and said, "Miss Zhang, since you also want to lead the students to learn the chapter of the banquet at Hongmen, why don't we discuss? If you were Xiang Yu, would you choose to kill Liu Bang at the banquet at Hongmen?" "Of course," Zhang Yu said grumpily. "Only an idiot wouldn't kill him." Anyone with common sense in history knew that if Xiang Yu had killed Liu Bang at the banquet at Hongmen, then with Xiang Yu's strength and reputation, it would have been the Xiang family who conquered the Qin dynasty. It was a pity, and a pity. Fang Yan looked at Zhang Yu thoughtfully and said, "I think so too. What kind of look is that? What kind of look is that? Does he think I am Xiang Yu? Does he think I am Liu Bang?" Fang Yan frowned and said, "Miss Zhang, as teachers, you and I should set an example and pass on the truth, kindness, and beauty in our hearts to our students, so that they can learn knowledge and skills and also be moral and cultured people. Isn't it inappropriate for you to call me by my name?" I can call you octopus monster. But will I do that? Obviously not. I am cultured, so I will only call you Miss Zhang. Fang Yin, you have gone too far. Zhang Yu was really mad. In the past, he had only heard that Fang Yin had a vicious mouth and an eccentric personality. Class 1's Chen Dahai was such a powerful figure, but he was ultimately bullied into a sorry state by him. Even the honor of Class 9's homeroom teacher was stolen by him. Now that he had personally experienced it, he realized that he was indeed cunning and hard to deal with. Look, you're calling me Fang Yin again. Don't worry, I'm a well-mannered person. No matter what, I won't call you octopus monster. Fang Yin said with a smile. Miss Zhang, I just don't understand. I'm just putting forward some requests and suggestions from a fellow practitioner. I hope that we as teachers can pass on our positive side to our students, pass on our true, kind and beautiful side. Is there anything wrong with this? How did I bully others? Ask everyone, how did I bully anyone? Whether it was the students of Class 1 or Class 9, everyone felt that Fang Yin was bullying them. However, it was really difficult for them to explain how Fang Yin bullied people, because everything that Fang Yin said was correct. Even if you bring the lawsuit to the school's leaders, you can't find any fault. Although there were many leaders behind Zhang Yu who appreciated him, Fang Yin also had the strong support of Lu Chaoga. When the two tigers fought, Zhang Yu really couldn't guarantee that he would win. Zhang Yu became calm after his anger. He knew that his current situation was very dangerous. He had completely entered the atmosphere and rhythm created by Fang Yin. He was vilifying himself and turning into a madman without wisdom and quality. He couldn't do this. The war hasn't really started yet. Mr. Fang. Shouting these 3 words, Zhang Yu's stomach twitched. Do you know how many virtues there are? As soon as Zhang Yu asked this question, Fang Yin knew his little calculation in his heart. This idiot really didn't have any experience in fighting. I don't know which virtues it is exactly, but I know that the first virtue is the virtue of speaking. I don't understand. I was just trying to persuade Miss Zhang to be positive and be a good example to the students. How did it become bullying? Miss Zhang slandered a good person like this. Isn't this not having the virtue of speaking? Fang Yin asked with a puzzled face. Zhang Yu really wanted to vomit blood this time. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. The plot should be like this. After he asked this difficult question, either Fang Yin answered that he didn't know. Then it would be the glorious moment for him to show his profound knowledge and improve his self-pretentiousness. Even if Fang Yin answered, it didn't matter. He could use this as a pretext to say that Fang Yin had a vicious heart and a cheap mouth. How could such a character quality be a good example to others? He had buried the pit and was ready to wait for Fang Yin to jump in and bury him. However, why did he have a feeling that he had put his head into the pit? Change it. Fang Yin, you bastard. Hurry up and change the way you answer. Zhang Yu's heart was like a prairie with 10,000 grass mud horses running wildly. He clearly said that he wouldn't be angry. But in less than a minute, Zhang Yu was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He had the urge to turn around and leave. He couldn't tremble, and he couldn't leave. Even if he lost, he couldn't lose. Mr. Fang, stop talking nonsense. Why do you have to be so eloquent? So what if you win? The school won't give you a trophy. Zhang Yu said with a sneer. We are here to teach, not to quarrel with you. Zhang Yu waved his hand and shouted, Bring it in. As he spoke, a few boys carried a few big wooden boxes in. Change clothes. Zhang Yu shouted. So, the students immediately opened the boxes and took out one robe after another from the box and put them on. Fang Yin was envious and asked, Miss Zhang, where did you get these clothes? I borrowed them from the drama club. Zhang Yu said loudly. He felt that he finally had a chance to hold his head high. Very good. Fang Yin praised sincerely. I didn't think of borrowing clothes from the drama club. Zhang Yu sneered and said, Not everyone can borrow them. That's true. Fang Yin nodded. I heard that the drama club's clothes are very precious. It's very difficult for ordinary people to borrow them. Miss Zhang is the one who has the face. Zhang Yu stared at Fang Yin warily and thought, What trick is this guy playing? Is he trying to cheat people again? Shall we use this place first? Zhang Yu pointed to the spacious taekwondo club and asked. No. Huang Haoren stopped him. We came here first. Why should you use it first? Exactly. There should be a first come, first served order, right? If we can't use it, you can't use it either. Before Fang Yan had time to speak, the students of the 9th class began to fight back. Do you have the right to speak? Zhang Yu said angrily. I'm discussing with Mr. Fang. Why are you in such a hurry? Since when did you have the right to make decisions? Fang Yan waved his hand and said, Miss Zhang, that's not right. Now it's a legal society. Every child has the right to speak freely. They can express their thoughts and prayers reasonably. This is what we should support and encourage, right? How can you say that they don't have the right to speak? Fang Yan, don't use these students as a shield. Zhang Yu wanted to point at Fang Yan's face and scold him. Are you done or not? Can't we fight with real guns and live ammunition? Why are you pretending to be a good teacher and a good person? What truth, kindness, and beauty are you promoting? Do you have these things? Teacher Zhang, if you put it this way, then I am even more confused. There are no arrows in front of me. Why do I need a shield? I'm asking you. My students are ready. Can we use the venue? Zhang Yu felt that it was getting harder to breathe. It was as if he couldn't hold on any longer. Sure. Of course. Fang Yan said indifferently. He waved his hand at his students and said with a smile. Since the students of the 1st class are willing to set an example for us, then we should study hard. This will also deepen our understanding of the text. This is not a bad thing. Am I right? Hearing Fang Yan say this, although Huang Haoren and the others were angry, they could only move away from the venue. A victorious smile appeared on Zhang Yu's face as she said, Mr. Fang is the one who knows when to advance and retreat. This has nothing to do with knowing when to advance and retreat. Fang Yan said with a smile. I'm a teacher. I hope that my students can learn more. If they can have such an opportunity to appreciate and observe, I think it will be meaningful for them. So I agreed. Hee. Zhang Yu sneered and waved his hand. Everyone get into position. Rehearse according to the script we discussed before. We must return to the real feast at Hongmen Scene. The students of the 1st class agreed, and immediately began to move. Tangqing stood behind Fang Yan, and looked at the busy students of the 1st class. He asked with an unfriendly expression, Mr. Fang, do we really have to give up the venue? We really have to. Fang Yan nodded. They are going too far. Tangqing said with a sneer. He was originally a member of the 1st class. He was transferred from the 1st class to the 9th class because of Qin Etian. He understood the thoughts of the students of the 1st class, and Zhang Yu too well. Zhang Yu is coming for you. I know. Fang Yan nodded. You know? Tangqing looked at Fang Yan in surprise. You know, but you still let him get away with it. Then what should I do? Fang Yan grinned. Scold him? Or should I say, beat him up? I believe that he can't beat me in a scolding match. He can't beat me in a fight. However, no matter if we scold or fight, I lose and he loses. We both lose face in front of the students. I'm not talking about my face or his face. I'm talking about the face of the profession of a teacher. It's ruined. Tangqing was silent. He was thinking about every word Fang Yan said. Yes, this was the difference between this man and others. He was calculative and conscientious. He was long-winded and cherished his words like gold. He was a hoodlum, but at the critical moment, he was able to stand up bravely. You think you understand him and see through him. No, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I know he sees me as an opponent. Fang Yan smiled and shook his head. But he is not worthy to be my opponent. Chapter 142. Killing 1,000 enemies while sacrificing 800, or killing 800 enemies while sacrificing 1,000 were all cruel ways of fighting. Fang Yan had many ways to knock down Zhang Yu and make him lose his reputation. Of course, Fang Yan could do it. However, he would not choose to do so. Just as he said, he hoped to pass on positive energy to his students. He wanted them to be true, kind, and brave. He wanted them to have rich knowledge and a humble attitude towards life. He hoped that they would be great and charming people. He was a language teacher, and so was Zhang Yu. If two language teachers fought like aunties in a wet market for the same venue, where would the dignity of a teacher be? Where would the elegance and decency be? Jealousy made Zhang Yu crazy and irrational. He put on a posture as if he was willing to be cut into pieces to bring down the emperor. But Fang Yin could not let him succeed. He would not fight with him. He was not even willing to let him touch the corner of his clothes. That was what Fang Yin thought. Many times, people called him AB*TCH. However, sometimes, he also hoped that people could call him a swordsman. Because of the retreat of Class 9, Class 1 immediately occupied the venue and quickly entered the plot. To be honest, the performance of the students of Class 1 was really good. They were originally the most outstanding students carefully selected. Coupled with their strong comprehension and learning abilities, they came prepared and perfectly restored the scene of the Hongmen banquet and the context and mood of each character. After the performance of the first group of students, Fang Yin immediately applauded and praised. Good performance, Fang Yin said with a smile. The students of Class 9 were originally hostile to Class 1, but under the influence and drive of Fang Yin, they calmed down and enjoyed the performance of Class 1. They also applauded and cheered along with Fang Yin. Zhang Yu stood beside Fang Yin. Seeing Fang Yin's performance, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. He thought to himself, of course it's good. The students of Class 1 are the most outstanding. What's good about it? I can only give you a passing mark. Zhang Yu called the group of students in front of him and commented on them one by one, saying, Zhang Xuedong, your Xiang Yu doesn't have the domineering aura of Chu Bowang at all. Wang Kai, your Lu Bang is too frivolous. Think about it. His life is in the hands of others. Can he still smile so happily? Be honest. Moving people with their emotions. Otherwise, why didn't Xiang Yu kill him? Huang Fei, whose portrayal of Fan Kuai was the most successful. He was brave and resourceful, but he couldn't read his lines properly. When I go back, I need to read the original script more and practice more. Fang Yin smiled helplessly. This is just a reenactment of the scene. The purpose is to let everyone have a deeper understanding of the historical event that happened during that period. Isn't it too harsh to ask your students to act according to the standards of actors? Of course, Zhang Yu was the language teacher of Class 1. He was educating his students, so Fang Yin was not allowed to interrupt. Otherwise, it might really cause a war where both sides would suffer great losses. Zhang Yu waved his hand and said to them, all right, go and take a break. The next group of students get ready. Students below, please pay attention. I hope that everyone can act better and better. Each group will perform better than the last. If you see someone else's performance but it's worse than theirs, then it's not a matter of intelligence. It's a matter of attitude. Teacher, what if Class 9 sees our performance and it's worse than ours? A student asked jokingly. Sun Xinping, aren't you talking nonsense? It's normal for Class 9 to act worse than us. That's right. Why should we compete with Class 9? If we want to compete, we should compete with Class 2, or the top classes of other schools. When did Class 9 become our opponent? We are number 1, and they are number 9. There are 7 numbers between us, okay? The students of Class 1 laughed, finding this question very interesting. The students of Class 9 were furious. Wasn't this a blatant provocation and insult? So what if you're from Class 1? Tangqing jumped out from Class 1. He didn't want to have a bad relationship with Class 1 after he graduated. After all, there were many people in Class 1 who were his friends. However, some people went too far, and he couldn't bear it anymore. I think it's too boring. I don't want to stay there. I think so too. Qin Yitian echoed. She still stood outside the crowd with her hands in her pockets, with headphones plugged in her ears, looking like she didn't care about anything. However, a sentence at a critical moment was quite weighty. Tangqing was overjoyed, looking at his goddess Qin Yitian with excitement. She replied to me, she's on my side. She's on my side. Class 1 was collectively silent. Tangqing and Qin Yitian's counterattack was too fierce. They were beaten until they were dizzy. It must be known that Qin Yitian entered Class 1 as the top student in the whole school. Until now, no one had been able to surpass her. Rose Finch deserved to be the most beautiful girl in the school. All the students had to respectfully call her senior sister Etienne when they met. Such a student couldn't be replaced by other girls after she left. And Tangqing was also a top student in Class 1. He belonged to the first echelon like Qin Etienne. Rosefinch, the school hunk, was Qin Etienne's hardcore admirer and strongest competitor. Everyone thought that the two of them were a match made in heaven and would definitely be happy in the future. They would enter university, start working, and then get married and have children. However, the two most outstanding people in Class 1 had job hopped and left. And they went to Class 9, which they completely looked down upon. Zhang Yu's expression was also extremely ugly. He hated Fang Yan. He hated Fang Yan for stealing his limelight. He hated Class 9 for taking away the honor of Class 1. He also hated Fang Yan for poaching away his two favorite students, Qin Etienne and Tangqing. Now that Qin Etienne and Tangqing stood out to support Class 9, his heart felt as if it was being pricked by needles. He waved his hand forcibly suppressing the anger in his stomach, and said to Sun Xinping, who asked the question, "I'm talking about Class 1. We are only competing with Class 1 students. What does it have to do with us whether others act well or not? You can't even recognize who your opponent is. What's wrong with your head?" Sun Xinping smiled awkwardly and said, "Teacher, I was just joking." These people were constantly making insinuations and sarcastic attacks, which made Fang Yan's heart very uncomfortable. Their words were all belittling Class 9. They didn't put the students of Class 9 in their eyes at all. This made Fang Yan particularly angry. Why did they feel so good about themselves? Did they think that their students were superior to others? If someone said that their children weren't good-looking, perhaps all parents would find it hard to accept, right? Fang Yan walked in front of Zhang Yu and asked, "Miss Zhang, do you practice Tai Chi?" "I don't." "Do you learn Kung Fu?" "I don't." "Do you exercise?" Zhang Yu impatiently looked at Fang Yan and said, "What do you want to say?" "I really want to beat you up in the name of sparring." Fang Yan said, "Unfortunately, your defense is too good. You didn't give me a chance at all." Zhang Yu's face turned purple. Anger occupied his brain, making him temporarily lose the ability to fight back. "It doesn't feel good to be looked down upon, right?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "Before you say those words, why don't you think about the students of Class 9? They are just a group of children. They are at the most sensitive age. They also have pride and self-respect. They also love face. They are all our students. Do you think it's really good for you to do this?" "Did I say something wrong?" Zhang Yu said angrily. "When did Class 9's performance surpass Class 1's? Has there ever been such a thing? Why don't I have any impression of it? If you're not convinced, why don't we have a little competition in the mock test next month?" "Compete in what?" "I don't care about other things. We will compete in Chinese," Zhang Yu said. "If you want to compete in general subjects, I don't have an opinion, but I still advise you not to humiliate yourself." "Okay, then I will listen to you. Class 9 will compete in Chinese with Class 1, Fang Yan said. "I believe they can get a good result this time. Do the nobles, generals, and ministers have guts? Can they enter Class 1 also be born with it?" Fang Yan had a good understanding of his students and was confident in them. None of them were mentally handicapped. None of them were fools or idiots. The reason why they did not surpass the students of Class 1 when they entered the school was because they did not work hard in junior high, or their learning methods were not right. Now, since he became the teacher of Class 9's Chinese and Class 9's homeroom teacher, the students' learning enthusiasm was fully mobilized. He did not dare to guarantee other subjects, but he was confident that they would achieve a breakthrough in Chinese, because before this, they had used practical actions to prove it to him. "Really? It's good that you are confident." Zhang Yu sneered. "The loser has to apologize to the winner on the school radio station and read an apology written by the winner. Do you dare to accept my bet?" "I dare, but I am not good at writing. I am afraid that I can't write an apology." Fang Yan said in distress. "You don't have to write it. Just wait for the script to be read." Zhang Yu said with a face full of sarcasm. "I knew Miss Zhang would not make things difficult for me." Fang Yan grinned. He patted Zhang Yu's shoulder hard and said as if he was doing it for his own good. The teacher often has to sit and grade homework. The work pressure is great, and the sub-health is getting worse. Miss Zhang, let me teach you Tai Chi. Zhang Yu thought, do you think I am stupid? Do you want to use me as Tai Chi? Chapter 143. When Lu Chaoge came downstairs, the servants had already prepared breakfast in the dining room. Jiang Zhulu sat at the dining table and read the newspaper. When he saw Lu Chaoge come downstairs, he closed the newspaper and said, I was still thinking about who would be the first to come downstairs to have breakfast with me. I really don't have much of an appetite facing this table of food alone. Lu Chaoge pulled out the chair opposite Jiang Zhulu and sat down. She asked, where's uncle and auntie? My dad has to entertain his old friends at home today. He doesn't have to go to work, so he might sleep a little longer. My mom went to play mahjong with Mrs. Li and Mrs. Wang last night. When she came back, it was already early in the morning. I don't think she'll get up for a while. Jiang Zhulu picked up the chopsticks in front of him and said, no need to wait. Let's eat first. Lu Chaoge nodded, picked up the knife and fork, and began to cut the fried eggs on the plate. Have you been busy with work recently? Jiang Zhulu asked while stuffing fresh broccoli into his mouth. It's been all right, Lu Chaoge said expressionlessly. Have you sorted out the relationship between the schools? If there are any difficulties, I'll go find Zheng Tiancheng for a cup of coffee. I think he'll give me some face, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. His smile was gentle and full of confidence. Perhaps it was an insurmountable gap for many people. But it was a simple problem that could be solved with a phone call and a cup of coffee for people like them. No need. Lu Chaoge directly refused. Jiang Zhulu smiled and said, actually, I've thought about buying Rosefinch Secondary directly. At least, I want to become the largest shareholder of Rosefinch. I want you to be the principal so that you can fully display your abilities. Being held back by a group of useless old antiques all day and doing everything is a waste of your precious time. Lu Chaoge raised her head and looked at Jiang Zhulu in surprise. She said, you didn't think like this before. Because I understand you, Jiang Zhulu said. He added a packet of milk and half a packet of sugar into the coffee cup and gently stirred it with a spoon. I know that if I make such a request, you'll definitely refuse. Then why do you think I will agree now? Lu Chaoge asked. Because you think I can't hold on any longer? I'm the one who wants you to agree, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. This will save you some time, won't it? Only by becoming the actual controller of that school can you plan and design it according to your vision. Otherwise, how much longer would you have to spend in that quagmire? 1 year? 2 years? Perhaps 3 to 5 years later? I'm not in a hurry, Lu Chaoge said. As long as she was given a little more time, she believed that she could completely establish herself in Rosefinch. Now more and more people were trying to get close to him. She just lacked some experience and convincing results. But someone is anxious. Jiang Zhulu smiled helplessly. You only come back every 2 days, so you can't understand my pain. My mom calls me every day to urge me to go home. Once I get home, she asks me when I'm getting married. I don't want to give you any pressure. I don't want to push you too hard. But you know, a woman in menopause can't be measured with common sense. So, shouldn't we put this matter on the agenda? Agenda? What agenda? Lu Chaoge's tone became cold. She looked like she was 1,000 miles away. The wedding agenda, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. Of course, the baby's agenda. Or there are many other things on the agenda. I haven't considered it, Lu Chaoge said. If you and auntie are in a hurry, you might as well see if other women are willing. Of course, I know many women are willing to marry into the Jiang family. You're not willing? Jiang Zhulu stared at Lu Chaoge and asked. I haven't considered it, Lu Chaoge said. She picked up a piece of egg with a fork and put it into her mouth, chewing it tastelessly. How vexing. How could he encounter such an oppressive forced marriage while eating breakfast? What did the Jiang family want? Why? No reason. I saw you for the first time when I was 3. You moved to my house when I was 6. We spent 20 years together. How did my parents treat you? How did I treat you? So, you want me to repay you with marriage? Lu Chaoge retorted. Repay? The muscles on Jiang Zhulio's face twitched. You said this is repayment? Could it be that I, Jiang Zhulu, can't find a woman? Do I need you to repay me with marriage? I do like you. I fell in love with you many years ago. I hope that you can be with me. I hope to marry you as my wife. I hope that I have the qualifications to be the man who can give you happiness. Is this considered as repayment? I don't like you, Lu Chaoga said. Because of Fang Yan? Fang Yan? Lu Chaoga frowned and shook her head. It has nothing to do with him. Pa! Jiang Zhulu slapped the dining table and roared like a wounded beast. Lu Zhaoga, you don't even dare to admit what you've done? What are you afraid of? Of my revenge? Of that pretty boy who relies on women? I don't know what you're talking about. Fang Yan and I are just normal colleagues. Lu Zhaoga was nonchalant as he nibbled on the egg that he had cut into strips. Just ordinary colleagues. Do you think I'm an idiot? Jiang Zhulu sneered. Lu Chaoga, you're afraid that I'll take revenge on him, right? You're really considerate to him. You really don't trust my character. I'm not afraid of your revenge, Lu Chaoga said. You can't beat him. What's with the ruckus so early in the morning? Qiang Long Tan, who was wearing a gray pajamas, scolded as he walked downstairs. Zhulu, apologize to Chaoga. Apologize? Jiang Zhulu felt like he was about to explode. What did I do wrong? I just said a few words of truth. Someone took photos of her with that wild man. And you still have the nerve to lie and say there's nothing between them? What does it have to do with you if Chaoga makes friends? Qiang Long Tan said sternly. As long as Chaoga isn't married and hasn't become someone's wife, she has the right to make friends freely. Apologize. Clang. Jiang Zhulu threw the fork in his hand and turned to walk outside. Bastard. Qiang Long Tan pointed at Jiang Zhulio's back and cursed. After Jiang Zhulio's car drove away, Qiang Long Tan sat down next to Lu Chaoga and comforted her. Chaoga, don't take it to heart. Zhulu doesn't have any bad intentions. As his parents, we all know how he feels about you. It's been so many years, but Zhulu hasn't had a proper girlfriend. As for why, we all know even if he doesn't say it. People have made him into one of the 4 beauties of watching. What is there to show? It's just 4 young people from good families, hanging out together to pass the time. He's still young and hasn't experienced much. It's understandable that he lost control of his emotions when he felt that things were getting out of his control, or that the things he cared about were leaving him. No matter what, we're all family. Uncle, I understand. I'm not angry, Lu Chaoga said calmly. Qiang Long Tan studied Lu Chaoga's expression carefully. After making sure that she really wasn't angry, he smiled and said, That's good. Your parents entrusted you to me, and I'm afraid that you've suffered in this family. If there's anything, just tell me. Don't keep it to yourself. I don't need a son, but Chaoga will always be my favorite daughter. Thank you. Lu Chaoga's expression changed, and her voice trembled as she said, Thank you, uncle. Qiang Long Tan patted Lu Chaoga's shoulder and said, I'll go wash my face first. Eat more. Don't try to lose weight like other girls. You've lost weight lately. I will, Lu Chaoga said. Qiang Long Tan smiled and turned to go upstairs. When Qiang Long Tan returned to his room, his wife, Ren Jin, was already smoking by the window in a black gauze nightgown. Qiang Long Tan raised an eyebrow and said, Don't smoke so much. What? You can't stand me smoking a cigarette at home? I've never seen you get annoyed when that woman acts like a tyrant at home. Ren Jin's expression was displeased, and her words were sharp and painful. How is Chaoga acting like a tyrant now? Qiang Long Tan said with a dark expression. She's a poor child. She's been very sensible since she was young, and we've never had to worry about her. Don't you feel guilty that she's acting like a tyrant at home? Don't I feel guilty? Ren Jin sneered. Zhu Lu said a few words about her, and you went to get someone to apologize. Zhu Lu is a proud man, and you're driving him out on purpose, aren't you? Don't you feel guilty for treating us like this? A man should always give in to a woman. Am I supposed to make Chaoga apologize to Zhu Lu when they're fighting? I can't bring myself to do that, said Qiang Long Tan. Also, how many times have I told you? Don't get involved in their business. Ren Jin turned around abruptly and stared at Qiang Long Tan with a mocking look in her eyes. Qiang Long Tan, Do you know what my father said about you the first time he met you? A yellow ox and a dog. You look like a hard-working old ox, but deep down, you're a dog who wants to bite everyone he sees. You don't want me to get involved with them, because you don't want them to be together. Do you? Putting out the cigarette on the windowsill, Run-Jin said coldly, you don't want Lu Chaoga to be your daughter-in-law. You want her to be your son's stepmother, don't you? Smack. Qiang Longtan slapped Run-Jin across the face. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.